Good Tuesday afternoon. So nice to be with you. I hope you just had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I had a couple of days off, first time in a long time. Much needed, much appreciated. Really did have an outstanding time in the eastern part of our state. I want to talk a little bit about the travels because we are in a new era, right? We are in like different phases throughout the country. And I think in some phases we've forgotten we're in phases. We're just back to the way it used to be. We'll talk a little bit about that today. We've also got Ryan Poe coming up for our pandemic segment. That will be at 3:30. That is the very young and excellent reporter for the Commercial Appeal. He will join us. Again, that'll be at 3:30. I should point out tomorrow, 3:30, and that's not Laird Veach, the athletic director from the University of Memphis, will visit with us. Brad Beard, and he's got a whole bunch of new notes out on college football and who's opening and who may not open and all the stuff that's going on. We'll talk with Brent at 4 o'clock. Our friend David Cobb, normally on Mondays, moved to today. He's written an interesting article about John Calipari and Bob Huggins. They're part of a CBS podcast, and we'll get into what they had to say about one another. David Cobb at 4:30, as always, collegetopro.com. Our friend Beau Marchant at 5, and then at 5:50 we will have crunch time. In the meantime, very close to me, not the avenues of the Americas in Forest City, Arkansas, but no, next door. Because here at Flynn Broadcasting, we do it the right way, and I mean that sincerely and thankfully. I am so glad that Dr. Flynn and Jay Flynn and all the powers that be have taken all the steps. So I'm literally in one room, sort of in the middle. To my left would be Drew Barrett, but to my right, since the pandemic, he's been in Forest City today in the studio next door with a big TV and glass separating the two of us. Brett Norsworthy, how was your long weekend, my friend?
It was good, Dave. Good to see you. Good to be back in this building. And you're right. We are protected. We're cordoned off from each other and gloves. And I've had my mask everywhere I've been except for now, trying to talk and trying to sip on a soft drink. But we're trying to be very careful as we hopefully are rounding some phase of this. This is week 2 of the second phase. We know we have next week will be the 3rd week of the second phase. And then we'll see if the powers that be allow us to graduate to a 3rd phase, and I hope we can. But around the country, a lot better news on the virus front and on the economic front and on the getting back to sports front, and that is important to me. But I've said the whole time, save smart and hopefully soon. And soon for the PGA Tour will be not this Thursday, not this Thursday, not even the next Thursday, but the next one. And then baseball and maybe the NBA and other things getting going. The NFL says they're playing this year, and they're playing with full stadiums.
That's what they said. I hope that is
Greg McGarity,
correct.
the AD at Georgia, says they're playing and they're going to play in a full stadium.
The owner of the Dolphins sort of hedged a little bit when he said we'll be playing in stadiums full. He said, but I guarantee you we'll be playing in the game.
Oh, they're playing.
So that part I'm pretty sure, unless there is a setback that is on. Hey, I did want to start with, so I went to Johnson City, where East Tennessee State is, to visit with our stepdaughter, who unfortunately, because of this pandemic, had to cancel her wedding, which would have been this past weekend. So we felt like we wanted to be there for her. And she and her fiancé, and he's a med student at East Tennessee, they were fine with all of it. They didn't want to put any people, especially older people, at any risk in celebrating their joy. And, they're still joyful. They're together and they're happy, and nothing is going to change that anyway. But we felt the need to go there, and it was really gorgeous. I mean, the hiking there and the biking there. I've been to Johnson City once before for a game many, many, many years ago, but I'd forgotten how pretty it is. And it's sort of in between where the Smoky Mountains are, that part of the Appalachian Trail, and then those mountains of Western Carolina. It's still the AT, as they call it, the Appalachian Trail, but it's just gorgeous country. Near Carolina, and
you're near a lot of states up there.
You really are. And as I say, just beautiful. But as we traveled, when we went to gas stations or passed by or went through a food line in the drive-thru to pick up a quick breakfast or whatever we were doing, I will tell you, Brett, no one is wearing masks. The people that
that's
are
not
working,
what I see in this area.
the people that are working are. They have to by law. And even in some cases, I didn't see masks all the time, but there was plexiglass where you would, go pay for a cup of coffee or something. You paid for the gas at your machine anyway. But and then you saw the video yesterday of that area that sort of got famous from the Netflix show Ozark. But the lakes on the Ozarks,
They're throwing down there.
oh my gosh, there's no distancing. I mean,
Here's the
gosh,
anti-distancing.
They are. It's almost like they're trying to send a message. And there were some places, the state of Kentucky, by the way, had one. They hung the governor in effigy.
Hanged. Yeah.
Hanged him in effigy. That stuff, it's a little beyond me. It's a little reactionary. But the point is, we've not hit quite this normalcy, and
Not even close.
The cases that you get that are new show that, and yet we're acting as if, what? We're back to no, we're not quite yet, and I hope we don't pay a price for that. I guess is my point.
What do you think the mask rate was non-employed, non-being made to? What do you think the wearing rate was?
Not being made to. I am serious. In 2 of the gas stations that we went into, you have to understand, my wife is really stringent about this. So she literally makes me. I'm almost to the point where, come on, we're not going to live our life like this the whole way.
No,
and we are.
Nobody's asking you
and
to.
we are in the middle of phase 2. But she will make me put it on. We're the only ones wearing masks.
Is that right? You were the only ones
that were consumers.
Now, here's where I am. And I think we should. We have been advised to, but it's been a little bit all over the map. And one of these days at the end of the pandemic, I want to see the debate between Dr. Fauci and Dr. Fauci, because he has taken about every side on every issue you can take. Wear them, don't wear them. Wear them, don't wear them. Taken from PPE, but wear them. Now he's for full bore reopening in some public comments after saying, we would be in lockdown time infinitum. But I'm gonna listen to doctors, and I'm going to listen to the authorities. I don't necessarily, and Dave, we came along when almost no one did, and it was a little bit new for us to get used to it. And my nephews, being babies, really helped me become more adherent to wearing a seatbelt. I wear a seatbelt now for my safety and because it's the law. And why wearing a mask and gloves and PPE is not the law. It has been highly suggested in many places. I would no more grief someone and guilt trip them, though, if they didn't have it on, than I want somebody thinking I'm a bedwetter because I have it on.
Well, I think you know me, and I think it's fair to say that I am not exactly a rule follower like my wife is. I am not. But I always wore a seatbelt as soon as it became the law because it just made sense to me.
When it became the law, but we had seatbelts in cars a long time before it became the law. We didn't wear them.
Right. I think I actually did it even before it became law. When I saw the results of tests, it convinced me, and it wasn't that much of a nuisance at all for me to put that on. Now I would feel naked if I did not have
wouldn't
that
pull
thing
out of,
on.
I wouldn't get out of this driveway good without one on. Now you knew very well my friend Stevie Stevens, and he was in the funeral home business, and he told me right after I started driving, he said, "Let me tell you something. You better put that seatbelt on." Because that steering wheel and that glass wins every time.
Absolutely. It made all the sense in the world. Now, the masks, that's an interesting issue in its own right. And I'm going to refer to the doctor that we've had, and I look forward to talking with him again, Dr. Threlkold.
Oh, he's been great.
Dr. Threlkold basically said, okay, if we're going to wear them, though, let's wear them correctly. You got to change those masks. Never touch the mask itself, just a little strings for the earpieces. And know that you're really protecting others rather than yourself.
Yeah, it's consideration.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to be, but also whatever particulates or germs I'm keeping out, I want to too, because I have a pre-existing condition that I wouldn't want exacerbated through this. And while I'm not in the wheelhouse for this, and we know the wheelhouse has been much older, and largely when the big case study's done, it's been in elder care, senior care, assisted living in most cases.
Well, I believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe that I saw this, and even Dr. Haushalter referred to this. But because of people being inside and getting depressed, and we already have had this opioid epidemic anyway.
Real scourge.
There have been, I want to say the number was 700 cases with 130, something like that. That's the number of opioid overdose deaths since the pandemic began in Shelby County. And we'll go over these numbers later in just a few minutes.
That's
when we
horrific.
get to top story. We have 94 deaths from COVID-19 in Shelby County in that same time period, where we've had actually more from opioid overdoses.
Yeah,
now that is alarming.
And Dave's going to be long lasting to the detriment of the greater society of the public itself, to try to get those people clean, dry, and sober, to get them back out, normalized in the community, in a job. That's going to be a long range effect. Here's some brief statistics. CDC now puts the mortality rate at 0.4 and dropping. 0 to 49 years old, 0.05. 50 to 64, 0.2. 65 north, 1.3. 47% of all U.S. virus deaths from New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, with 10% of the United States. 50% were in nursing homes. That represents 10% of the United States. 50% in elder care. Almost everyone with pre-existing conditions. And now the CDC, which it could have a debate with itself too. It's been like Dr. Fauci. They've been all over the place. It says that the mortality ratio for COVID-19 virus is similar to the mortality rate of the 1957-1958 flu outbreak. Didn't want the flu in 57 and 58, did
No.
we?
You don't want the flu anytime.
No, and we've talked about. I don't know that I've ever really had it. And they say you know it if you've had it.
Yeah, maybe you have not.
I've had crud. I've had feeling bad, but I don't know that I've ever.
I tend to think this. I've had really bad colds.
Yeah.
Where I could sleep for 20 hours, and I that leaves me with that crud buildup in your chest and in your nose, where your nose is sore from blowing it so hard. I've had those kinds of reactions to colds, viruses.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I've ever had that flu, but I tell you what, I've had the flu shots that some people are, just totally against, which I don't quite get.
Oh no, I get one every year.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate that I'm not sure that I've ever had the flu either.
And
I don't want to find out.
The great Spanish flu outbreak in 1918 and into 1919.
Right.
1918, around college football, a lot of places played some games in September, took most of October off, and then finished in November. Now, the standard schedule then was only about 6 or 7 games.
Right.
And that year, 1918, was the first year for Newt Rockne at Notre Dame.
Huh. That part I did not realize. How many games did Notre Dame play that year?
They played 5 or 6. And it was different schedules that year. Mississippi State and Ole Miss played home and home. State won them both.
Well, you hate to see it, but we could end up starting September 5th, and then that second wave that they're so fearful of, that could delay you a month. Then you do a bunch of testing and you pick it back up in November. Who knows?
Who knows?
But at this point, and we'll talk with Brent Beard about this in a little bit, it just depends on the school. Like Michigan is saying, well, they're still insistent if we don't have on-campus classes, then there's not going to be a football season.
And I'm not here to rip them.
No.
I'm here for everyone. fish your own line. Live your life. I think masks and gloves are a safety need, and I'm going to do it out in the public for both you and for me. I'm not going to ridicule you if you don't. I'm not going to guilt you. I'm not going to shame you. But again, I don't want to be called a pejorative because I do. I'm looking out for me, and I suggest you look out for you. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus too. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Again, online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
We will look at the coronavirus numbers for the county and states and the country and the world. And we have 127 new cases since yesterday in Shelby County. Some of that may be because here in the middle of phase 2, more testing, but also a little bit more lax in attitude in certain neighborhoods. Now we have a total of 4,531 cases. We've had 3,000, almost 50 recoveries. We've had yesterday 2,100 new tests, 6% of positivity on those. Now a total of almost 67,000 tests. Remember, we were at 10% positivity. Because the numbers have gone down, one time it was below 3%. We are at 6.8%. The number's good enough that yesterday coming up a little bit did not bother the Shelby County Health Department. Lisa Haushalter says she's bringing down the number of press conferences now to just twice a week on Tuesday and on Thursday. We did have one new death, now 94 total fatalities from the coronavirus in Shelby County. One other interesting note, schools are gearing up, and I want to ask Ryan Poe about this when we have him on here in a little bit. They are proposing $53 million, of which half would come from the federal government coronavirus relief package for laptops for all Shelby County students and teachers, so that if we do have to go hybrid or some online, or teachers that are older who can't come in would use computers that would be provided by the schools. My question is, in some of these areas where young people do not have computers, do they have internet service? How would you get the internet? I mean, isn't that a monthly fee that you would have to pay as well?
And that's why I'm here today, because my Wi-Fi got torched with the storms this weekend.
Oh, my goodness. I wondered what the reason was. Tennessee, we now have 20,600 worth of cases, 338 fatalities. We are really holding low on that number and the percentage. State of Mississippi, they had a bunch of new cases, 273 cases and 17 new deaths over this long weekend, 13,731 total and 652. So they're getting close to doubling the state of Tennessee in fatalities. Arkansas still holding right around 6,000 cases, 107 fatalities. We have 5,640,000 cases across the world. About 350,000 deaths. We're just about 260 short of that number, and we've had almost 2.5 million recoveries. In the United States now 1.7 million, and we've had 99,738. By the time we'll talk tomorrow, there will be 100,000 fatalities in the United States because of COVID-19, and we have had about 355,000 recoveries. Those are your dashboard numbers for this Tuesday, May the 26th.
My top story for me, the intramurals are over. We've had two fun hit and giggle golf events, UFC, slow restart, NASCAR restart. It's time for sports to get back. Real sports, baseball, get your act together this week. NBA, the plan sounds great. Not that wild about some of the playoff plans, but I'll take it. I'll even take the 1 through 16. A TV ratings bonanza it's out there waiting for everybody in sports. They'll be gigantic upon the return of sports.
Well, if they all come back at the same time, there'll be some competition for it. But since right now they aren't, you can get a $5.8 million with a high of $6.3 million and raise $20 million in 4.5 hours. That's what Phil and Tiger did. I thought that was incredible, and I got to tell you, when Phil and Tom Brady started their comeback, I mean, I'm pulling for Tiger as always. I was caught in the grips of it all. I mean, I really was enjoying watching this thing.
I wasn't mesmerized by it.
I enjoyed it. I really did.
I was for Peyton as always and for Tiger most always. But I thought it was fun. Good thing Tom Brady wasn't commando.
No.
We may have seen something that,
You're right.
I guess ESPN would put it on with the documentary of Lance Armstrong trying to set a F-bomb record in the first 5 minutes. I guess in the name of documentary, can you say anything?
Every piece that I've read, and I've not seen the Lance Armstrong thing yet, I'm going to go and watch it, though, but everything I've read about it, there is not one person that said what a great piece it was. Like we did every week with The Last Dance, most of the angles that I've read are, why do we keep giving this guy who's just a lousy person?
He raised a lot of money.
He did.
He did raise a lot of money.
He did.
He was a fraud, but he raised a lot of money. He did go through testicular cancer with of the most severe, the most severe rate, but he was a fraud. Not top story.
Not top story of the day.
There's a lot of ways you could go here. I'm gonna take this, not that it's a bad story. CBS is saying now James Wiseman will be the first player taken.
They've come around, huh?
In
I could have
the
told them
NBA draft, and I am really glad for James and for Penny and for Memphis, even though he only played 3 games here.
For his career, will it be starting at center, number 32 from the University of Memphis, James Wiseman? Will it be draft night? Will it be from the university? Well, it should be.
It should be. I think at the draft with Derrick Rose, it was the University of Memphis.
Yeah, and then he changed it because of the Chicago angle.
He did, and I don't. He was a little upset about something here, I guess. Maybe the NCAA period, he didn't want to have anything to do with college. But I hope that is the case for James. By the way, they got Anthony Edwards, and I still don't see that guy as going to be a great player. I may be way off, but I don't. They love Anthony Edwards. They got LaMelo Ball as the 3rd pick. But I thought it was great, and I really hope that happens for James, because you've read stories now that because he quit on his teammates and all this other stuff, that he may be slipping in the draft. According to CBS, that is not the case. And, of course, if this thing held up, he would go to Golden State. Could you imagine? I mean, he could be on a winning team, a really good team right off the bat. That team's going to be
could play in the NBA Finals right out of the gate. My not top story, you referenced it, to University of Michigan President Mark Shizzle says no sports in the fall if no school. I would beg people, before you start wanting to rip on President of University of Michigan, Mark Shizzle, first of all, he runs the University of Michigan. He doesn't run Notre Dame. He doesn't run Wyoming. He doesn't run Texas or Ole Miss or LSU or Memphis or Alabama. He runs Michigan. And then you look at his credentials. Princeton undergrad, top of his class. Johns Hopkins Medical School. Did his Ph.D. work at MIT. A former renowned professor of microbiology and immunology in classrooms across the country. So this is not some dummy speaking. We can't be averse. We cannot be a flat earth society.
And let's look, because I think it's always important that you do, let's look at his motivation. When you've got a report, and we'll talk about this with Brent Beard too, that says there's only 2 athletic departments that could be self-sustainable, which means no help from school, no help.
And it could only sustain about a year.
From student fees, right? That if you didn't have college football admissions, no football tickets sold, there's only two schools that could sustain themselves in last, and that's Georgia and Texas A&M. So it's not. I mean, he's putting himself in a position of danger athletically when he says that. But his motivation is he wants safety on campus.
I trust his motivation. I trust his principles. But I also would say this to him: okay, that's Michigan's business. If they don't play, then they don't play. But they don't hold the veto card for the rest of the Big Ten, much less the rest of college football.
That'll be interesting to see if that is how it works out, and I suspect that will be the way it will end up winding its way to what will be reality. With all that said, we're underway. This is Tuesday, as we mentioned, May the 26th. When we come back, our pandemic segment today is with the Commercial Appeal reporter Ryan Poe, and he is next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hurt. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
Frontier Western Store is open and ready to serve you for all your needs in boots, apparel, pet food, and more. Frontier is proud to be a local leader here in the Mid-South when it comes to boots. Stop by the store today for an incredible selection of name brand work and dress boots. Come browse aisles and aisles of top quality boots at everyday low prices in our world famous boot showroom. Dan Post, Rocky, Durango, Twisted X, Georgia, Ariat, and many more. There are so many styles, colors, and fits available, you might need a hand picking out your favorites. Luckily, Frontier's knowledgeable sales staff will cheerfully assist you with any questions you have and ensure the proper fit of your new boots. Frontier also has an amazing selection of jeans and shirts by Wrangler, Ariat, and Carhartt, as well as a fully stocked women's boutique department with thousands of tops and dresses at unbelievable prices. New arrivals often. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Come on, one more rep. You got this.
10.
There it is. Nice work, man. You're a beast.
Thanks, man. I feel better than I have in years. And I got to tell you, taking Nugenix makes a huge difference for me.
Nugenix? That's the testosterone booster with TV ads with Frank Thomas. The Big Hurt, right?
Oh, yeah. The patented key ingredient is testofen, which helps boost free testosterone levels and increase lean muscle mass.
Well, it's clearly working for you. Hey, are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, Nugenix is a great way to increase lean muscle and feel stronger with more energy and endurance.
Man, I need to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix.
No problem. You just got to send them a text. Text BICEP to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of new Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help get you back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text BICEP to 321-321. That's BICEP to 321-321.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochen and Brett Norsworthy.
Somebody must have kicked you around some.
From the Commercial Appeal, Ryan Pohl join us in just a minute, I'll let you know this portion of the show brought to you by the Germantown Commissary. You know, still doing business. They've been doing business the whole way through. Walker Taylor, he decided he had to keep his people working, and he did a great job of keeping it going. In Germantown, it was curbside. In Collierville, the newer one, the big one, you know, Poplar and Houston, Lovey Road, that was drive-through. All the great things, all the ribs, all the pulled shoulder, all the chicken, all the icebox lemon pie or banana pudding, all the things that you love, that you know, deviled eggs, say the commissary. Well, they were all still being served, still are, but now you can go in, and in phase 2, we're at least at 50% capacity. Very smart the way they are doing it. They have the social distancing there, masks, gloves, you know it. They've got it that way. And they are saying, come on in. If you feel good about it, we are here for you. We've got waiters. We got waitresses. They would love to see you. Otherwise, come do it with a pre-call for the Germantown curbside. You can pay, so there's very little passing of things. They'll put the food right in your car. Or do the drive-thru in Collierville. A little slower, of course, at dinner time when it gets packed. Let's face it, people love their commissary. But still, they are going strong. So if you would like some barbecue tonight, don't hesitate. They are open inside or out at the Germantown Commissary and at the Collierville Commissary.
Boy, that sounds good, Dave. What a good plan for tonight. On the food front, on the news front, we're glad to have back with us Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal. He joined us already once during this. We may have, if he can, a couple more times. You can follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Poe, RyanPoe. He writes the 901, a weekday column that blends Memphis news and commentary for the Commercial Appeal, and the Commercial Appeals on Twitter at Memphis News. Ryan Poe, it is still in the middle of it for us, isn't it? The virus of 2020, the great pandemic, and we welcome you back.
Hey, yeah, good to be back. Thank you. Yeah, the plague is still going on, so no, not much change there.
I'm wondering how much, though, do you think we have changed? Do you sense in Memphis, like we've gone to the top of the mountain and we're descending, based on maybe even what you see in neighborhoods with masks and distancing or lack thereof, or restaurants opening and people going maybe more or less than you thought? How do you think this story has changed?
So I think that people are starting to, when we first started reopening, when was that? Maybe I think it was May 4th. There was a little bit of uncertainty about how this was all going to go. And so far, the numbers have been pretty stable. There was a bit of a bump, I believe, but has kind of capped out. And right now the numbers are holding relatively stable. So, and that's as far as hospitalization, emergency room beds and that kind of thing. So altogether, if you ask me how it's going, I think it's going very well. We are taking a very cautious approach, but it seems to be paying off to do it that way. I do think there is going to be, some possibility of down the road there might have to be some more restrictions if there's another surge of COVID-19 around the flu season. But as of right now, I think we're heading toward the entry into phase 3 of the local reopening plan.
Ryan, I sure hope so, and I think we've, by and large, government and political leaders and the Vox Populi, the folks, I think we've done a pretty good job. I really didn't believe we would stand down and be this adherent, but I think the message got across of this is something we better not play with. We might be able to look back on it and think, all right, maybe not as big a deal as we thought it was, but let's don't take any chances. I think 100,000 deaths is a pretty darn big deal, but it's certainly not 2.2 million. With that, what is the number every day you first check? Hospitalization rate number, failed or past test number, fatalities. What's the first number, the go-to number every day for Ryan Poe first thing?
Well, that's a good question. I do first check the fatalities. I think that's probably top of mind.
Yeah.
Right, for everyone. We want to know the death toll of this thing. But right after that, I checked the hospitalizations and the ICU beds because really those are key factors for that if our capacity starts getting reached, we could be looking at more deaths because there's just not enough beds and care to go around. I don't think we're going to get to that point based on the numbers, but I think those are the key numbers to check.
I'm like you. Well, I look fatalities first. Then I'm going to check total cases. Then I'm going to check recoveries. I think that is so critical to where we are. I like looking at the testing now and to see how many tests and where that positivity rate is, which has been really pretty good. Last week it was, I think one day 2.9%. That might have been the lowest we saw, and that was with a good number of tests. So that was, in my mind anyway, very encouraging. The hospitalization thing, though, is really, and so you've gone right to the heart of the matter, Ryan Poe. It really is why we closed up the economy and we closed up everything that we did. It was so that we wouldn't overrun our hospitals the way that they did in Italy, and then you had to choose, this person's going to live, we're going to give them a ventilator, and unfortunately this person's not going to because we don't have one.
De facto death panels, Dave.
Right, yeah, and they didn't want that. My question is, we are pretty good there. Do you think we'll ever, unless there's a second wave, really use that old commercial appeal building on Union for a hospital? I don't believe it's been used yet, has it?
I don't think they've opened it yet for use, but it's really more of a, it's insurance, really. That's what it comes down to. I do not, based on the numbers now, it doesn't look like we're going to need it. But even so, you have Dr. Fauci and others on a national level talking about how there could be another surge of COVID-19 this fall and winter. Like I mentioned, the UT campus, the University of Tennessee just announced that they are going to be ending classes by Thanksgiving, I think it was, so that they wouldn't, run into issues there or in-person classes. So I think there's definitely a worry that there'll be a surge later.
So they won't do. This is sort of. I know it was the Notre Dame plan, but I think, Brett, you said it was actually, it may have been A&M or somebody even earlier that came up with this concept where you go to school earlier. I don't know if Tennessee is doing that. Notre Dame is going to school August 10th, and they're going all the way through without any break to Thanksgiving. Then they can let everybody go home, and then when they come back after, which will be after the new year.
Maybe even February.
Then they can retest everybody again. And then you'll be in, again, another protective bubble where you're not supposed to leave. If that's what UT's doing, that sounds like a pretty good and safe plan.
Yeah, I think it's a very safe plan as far as it's a cautious plan is what I mean to say. And what we need right now, I think, really is a cautious approach because we've seen how fast that the coronavirus can spread, and the rate of spread when we first had it coming into Memphis was astronomical compared to what it is now, which is about, right now the rate is about one person spreading it to one more person, so it's kind of holding stable. But when we first had it, I think it was in the 4 and 5 person. One person was spreading it to 4 or 5 more people. So we know it can spread very, very fast, and yeah, hopefully we won't see that because of what we're doing now this fall. But, there's still that fear there and that worry, and it's good to be prepared.
It is always good to be prepared, and we've talked a lot on our show and around town. Many others have as well. We're not the only ones. Ryan, I hope this launches a nationwide adherence to a good health plan in every area of life, every walk of life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely think that is going to be part of the conversation going forward. Public health is never going to be the same after this. Just as far as stockpiles and being aware of our capacity for these kind of pandemics, I think there's going to be a lot of change in the future about how we talk about health. And I think just from wearing masks and
Wash your
other
hands.
kind of basic hygiene,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a huge change just in the way kind of our society norms going forward.
Got a feeling that means buffets probably won't be a thing that you're going to want to take your families to anymore. Anything where there's communal, I think you're going to have to rethink about
Dinner
that.
parties in homes.
Well,
I mean, I don't know everybody wants to be sharing the same poncho dip bowl anymore.
Well, that could be, but I still think you'll have in-home gatherings.
Yeah, family members, but
Yeah, even buddies that you know. But I'm with you. I'm not sure you'll share a cheese dip with a bunch of people
There's a couple
anymore.
of them I didn't trust before this, Ryan. I don't know if I do now for sure.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that, from everything from communion, sharing the communion cup,
Right.
to anything, I think we're going to see a lot more people at least have the option not to. I don't know that all of those kind of community things, I don't know that buffets are going to go away tomorrow, but there will surely be a big change in their business.
Ryan,
Sure.
I've asked this of a couple more news reporters that we've had on. It's almost impossible, but we know at the end of this year when we do stories of the year, heck, maybe stories of the 21st century.
This is it.
This is it. When do you see a day that we're coronavirus free? When it's not leading that front page in those big bold headlines of the old front page in kind of in VE Day style. When do you think we get our old lives back?
That is a very good question. I think it depends on how this fall and winter go. So if everything goes well this fall, I think maybe next year, I think is what I've been told or what I've read as far as when the economy will really start to come back. And I think that is probably a realistic estimate. I think people want to get back to normal. And I think that is why you're seeing so many people right now go out to eat or not, wearing masks even. There's a very strong desire to get back to normal. And I do think that that's going to drive us maybe a little bit faster than we should go. But as a result, I think probably next year is when we'll really start feeling back to normal.
Unless it's a disaster. I promise you
unless it comes back.
that flooding that took place in Michigan, the headline there for them was to get the heck out.
Yeah, that was the lead headline.
It took away.
Head for high ground.
Yeah.
That's right, Dave. And everything's local, including the CA's coverage, Ron.
I want to ask you this story because it was in today's CA, and that is about the story of $53 million, half of which will come from the federal government's COVID relief fund, to pay for computers for laptops for students and teachers of Shelby County schools, which to me is smart. It's a great thing. I want everybody to go to class. But if they have to learn this way, at least we have an alternative that keeps everybody safe. My question is, though, there is an expense to internet, right? Do we know that if you're so poor that you can't, and I mean this seriously and hoping that we find the capital to make this work, but there is an expense to the internet. Somebody had said Microsoft is working on a new laptop that has self-contained internet. They called or texted us and said that we haven't been able to find a story on that. But how would they overcome that expense? How are people going to get the internet expense, which is I don't know how much I pay a lump bundle, so I have no idea what I'm paying for the internet alone. But there's got to be a monthly, somewhat significant fee to that.
Yeah, there are very significant fees. I think my personal bill every month is in like, what is it, $80 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is going to be able to afford internet at home, or the hot spots, or whatever else, what other ways they connect. So yeah, I think that's a serious issue. I don't know how Shelby County Schools is overcoming that. It could be that they're relying on people to go to community Wi-Fi spots, public Wi-Fi spots. But even that I think is going to be challenging for a lot of people. So the short answer to your question is that I'm not the education reporter. I'm not sure how exactly they're overcoming it. But I think that's a serious concern. another concern of mine, just personally, is I am not completely sold on whether it's a good idea for children to be looking at screens for extended periods of time. I think there's a lot of research that shows that can be a very damaging thing. So, how Shelby County Schools is going to be, I know that's the direction they're moving in, but whether it's wise, whether I'm going to have to do some research so I can.
One last thing for Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal at Memphis News on Twitter, at Ryan Poe on Twitter. You wrote today in the 901, you asked this question: will Memphis's COVID-19 shutdown now mean a crime wave later?
Yeah, so this is, let me walk you through kind of my thought on that. So across the country, we are seeing that there's been a lull in crime, of course, because of COVID-19 shutdowns. No one's out, no one's about. So the crime has gone down. Most crime, overall crime has gone down. But what we're also seeing is that the COVID-19 and the shutdowns are going to exacerbate a lot of the poverty and a lot of the underlying factors to why people commit crime. So here's the thing: is that once we start reopening, we're going to see the factors behind crime get worse. And so when it comes back, the worry is that crime is going to come back stronger than ever. In Memphis, so far, it doesn't seem like we are doing much to prepare for that, at least as not as much as other cities across the country and the world are doing. The London mayor, he just sent a letter to the prime minister saying that he expects there's going to be this wave of new crimes that are going to be coming through, especially from young people who are, more likely to be affected by the loss of employment, that kind of thing, in the long run. So that was kind of the point of the column, was just, are we really preparing for this new wave of crime that's coming? And the answer is that we aren't really. We don't have enough officers right now. Not nearly enough, or not nearly as many as were hoped for. So that's kind of where we are.
Not a hopeful way, I guess, to end this conversation, but time says we must, man. And that it could be a topic for another day. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say the hopeful part of this is that we can see it coming down the line. And it's time to act. There are plenty of ways to get involved with young people, especially. And so, this would be a good opportunity to just say, mentor a child or get involved in other ways. So that's kind of the point of the column was to say, it's not too late. We can act now to head this off.
Good stuff.
Great stuff.
Thank you so much. We'll, I'm sure, do this
Thank you, Ryan.
At least another time before we have this pandemic out of phase 3. Wouldn't that be a terrific thing? Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yep. Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal. We'll take a timeout. Back in just a minute. We'll put a wrap on this very first hour on this Tuesday of Sports Time on Sports 56.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Hi, folks. Bob Burkheimer for Sunrise Buick GMC Truck. A lot has happened overnight, and just wanted to let you know we're open at Sunrise for all your automotive needs. Service, body shop, parts, and sales. Go online to sunrisememphis.com to schedule an appointment. Should you need a vehicle, we're offering 0% up to 84 months with deferred payments up to 120 days. You can shop online. We'll bring the car or truck to you. At Sunrise, we know you want to feel safe, so bring your car or truck to any Sunrise location, and we'll disinfect it at no charge. Sunrise, stress-free and safe. Covington Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smash those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum. Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Blood and plasma donations are more important than ever. People all around the world still depend on the medicine your plasma helps make. That's why Interstate Blood Bank and Plasma Biological Services are open and will remain open for our donors. The United States government has declared blood and plasma donation as a critical infrastructure industry. That means healthy donors are allowed to travel to and from donation centers regardless of any stay-at-home mandates in your area. We need you to keep donating so that we can continue to manufacture these life-saving medicines. We understand that you may be concerned about COVID-19. The health and safety of our donors and our employees remain a top priority. To limit the spread of the virus, we're taking additional measures to ensure our centers are safe and clean. Donating now is more important than ever, but please do not come to the center to donate if you are not feeling well or have a sore throat, fever, cough, or shortness of breath. We are doing our part so that you can do yours. Come donate today at one of our IBBI or PBS locations across the Memphis area.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Voloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back into the Family Leisure Studios. Still trying to make your home even more enjoyable for you and your family this summer, especially when you still have to, not necessarily stay housebound anymore, but it's always nice to make your backyard feel like a staycation place, doesn't it? Complete pool packages starting at $15.99. The 24-foot pools, $19.99. Same price for the four-person spas. The big swim spas start at under $10,000. High-quality swing sets. They've been discounted to $21.99, all the way down from $34.99. Quite a big swing, you could say. And they're offering contactless purchasing, deliveries, curbside pickup. All you got to do is make the call. You call them, schedule an appointment, tell them what you want. You can look in the catalogs, a million different ways to do it. It's safe. They'll do it to you curbside. They'll bring it right out there and make sure everything is perfect. So go check it out. They are still making family and fun come together at I-40 and Wooden Road. Family Leisure.
You ready for some hockey?
Yeah, I'm always ready for hockey.
NHL has announced their return to play plan. 2019-2020 regular season completed. 24-team, it's complete. It's over. 24-team postseason. 2 hub cities yet to be determined for the playoffs. Remaining teams will head to the lottery in our preseason hockey picks. Poor Drew.
Well, not really, because I believe you had Montreal, which is now going to be.
No, Drew did not.
I had the New Jersey Devils winning the Stanley Cup Finals over the San Jose Sharks.
Neither will even be in the 24 days.
Whoa. Well, you know why I liked it? And have they figured out – I'm not sure if they're going to reseed after every round like they talked about. So the way they're doing this is 24 teams, the first top 8 teams get buys. And so the Blackhawks actually get in. Which is why I love it.
Unbelievable.
My Blackhawks can get in.
And as nebulous as playoff hockey, Dave, I'm not ruling out a hot run for them to win it all and hoist Lord Stanley's Cup.
Wait, who knows?
Who knows?
Everybody's had enough rest. I figured out if they start end of July, just like the NBA is thinking about, then each team will have had 4 months. 4 months to totally get over any
hockey
injury
never rests that long.
They might have had. I don't know what the NBA is going to do, because the NBA could go just the 16. They could do – they've not said like 24 and we'll give the 8 a bye. What they have said is we could do a play-in for the bottom end, like 6, 7, and 8 or 8, however they want to do that.
How unfair would that be to the Dallas Mavericks to be that entrenched 7 in the West and what they did all of a sudden being some – ham-handed World Cup play-in?
I really don't like any of that. Here's what I'd like.
1 through 16.
I think hockey actually has this right. If you're not going to finish your regular season, and the NHL has said they're not. Now, the NBA has not said that. The NBA could actually play more regular season games. They haven't ruled that out. They're just saying you're going to do it in one place, which is going to be Disney World Orlando. ESPN, whatever that zone is called. I think hockey is right. If you're not going to play out the full 82 games, instead of saying, okay, Portland, San Antonio, Portland, San Antonio, and New Orleans. You know what? You're into. We're just going to add teams that were close. So
why not?
Why not?
Why not?
And then
give
the top 4 or 8 teams a bye.
Yeah.
Play best of 5 on those play-in games or extra playoffs, and let's really go crazy. And you know what? It's the playoffs. When you say elimination, television ratings automatically go up.
It always does. It still saves baseball every year. Just the idea of fall playoff elimination play. We love a bracket. We love elimination games. And boy, the news out of baseball, every baseball writer tweeting at this minute, the gap significant between management and players.
What happened to we really just want to play and we'll be good partners and it really, we have to play the game.
No trust.
It's just amazing.
No trust.
They're the worst relations of any
the
pro
NBA
league.
deal is really boiled down to the owners are giving Adam Silver all the power and the players are giving Chris Paul all the power. And in baseball, you got to go get a vote from everybody. There's so many constituencies. That's impossible to please.
It's the strongest union and the worst relationship. There's just no way around those two absolute facts. That is an hour in the books. When we come back, college football, front and center. Our friend Brent Beard, he is next.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Hi, it's the Herd. No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom makes it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving home. Don't know the difference between a last will or living trust? LegalZoom can help. They're not a law firm, but you can get started quickly online and get advice through their network of independent attorneys. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com.
We saved serious cash with our Progressive Home and Auto Bundle and used the money to buy a new boat.
Who's ready to water ski?
This is not a real testimonial. Sure, customers can save big money with Progressive, but not enough for a new boat. They'll probably spend it on rent or gas money or maybe one of those little plastic wading pools for the yard.
Ahoy there!
Is what the captain might say. On the toy boat. In your wading pool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 96.1 FM, and 87.7 FM. As well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Google or Alexa to play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned to real sports talk. Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in hour number 2 of the day after Memorial Day. Once again, Brett and I, Drew, we all wish you hope you had a great weekend, that you were able to get out and about safely and really enjoy the extra day of the weekend. We were just talking a little bit about baseball and how far apart they are, and I suspect that since MLB today proposed cutting the salaries of the highest paid players in baseball, with the lowest paid players taking lesser cuts, was a part of distancing. When you start talking about money, that's not so good. The long-awaited plan delivered to the union today proposes that high salaried players take significant reductions of what they will be paid during a prospective season. So
it's money. Imagine that.
It all comes down, yeah.
Always does, Dave. And
it all comes down to that.
I can't knock those players completely on this, and I don't want to play the complete class warfare game, but the owners, well, how much do you need?
Well, I agree with that, but I haven't seen, and I could be wrong. Most of the time, I take up on the player side, but in this particular case, if there's no television, now if TV is part of it, I'm with you. Then the owners have to be really good partners this time. Show the books and everything. You got to show the books.
They ain't showing those books.
If you're going to go 50-50 on revenues, then you're going to have to show the books.
I need some trust.
That's one. And maybe that would develop trust. So maybe this would be a turn in labor relations, which we've just said are the worst of any of the pro leagues.
And it's been good for an extended stretch for baseball, which was rare, and now it feels like it's just back in the breach.
But, Brett, if you've agreed in principle, as you were trying to approach this, that you would have to take salary reduction. So, in other words, if you played half the games, which is what they were shooting for, you'd get half the salaries. Right. But now, if you know for a fact that 40% of your revenue, which comes from the gate, parking, tickets, and concessions, that's 40% of your revenue. You, as a player, have to say, okay, I got
to take my haircut.
I got to take a slight haircut. I'm not going to take total because they're going to end up making it up somewhere down the road. I can't do that because my time is short. Pigs get slaughtered. We love that line. But I think there is some responsibility of the player here for this 1 year to go, okay, they got to show us the books. We'll split the revenue, but we'll take a little less than even half of what we're going to get because they're getting 40% less of the revenue stream. I don't know if they'll do that because in principle they already had an agreement. But this pandemic changed everything.
Throughout everything.
It really did. What will it do to college football? We continue to discuss that every week with our friend down in Jacksonville, Florida. Brent Beard joins us now. Interesting stuff in your notes today. I think I got this from your notes, Brent, so I want to start with this.
All good information comes from Brent's notes.
Thank you.
Well, this was
Thank you, Brent.
a report out of Syracuse that was, I think, also talked about on ESPN or written about on ESPN.com, where they say there's only 2 athletic departments in America that
at 130, at 130 FBS,
that could still be self-sustaining without revenues from the school, without revenues from student fees, without football ticket sales, that could still make it. And that's Georgia and A&M, both SEC schools. Most people would have thought Texas would be in that grouping.
They've been spending every nickel they get their hands on.
Would be in that grouping. Alabama would be in that grouping. I was shocked that it's those 2. Brent Beard, why is it those 2?
Well, and doesn't that tell you guys why it's important to be able to have a season and to have the television money that goes along with that? I'm with you guys. I was quite surprised that it was both of those schools, but the alarming thing certainly would be then you basically only got 2. Now, look, sometimes you can crunch the numbers and do with them what you want at that point, but that's what we've got without football season ticket sales. Now, several things have happened since we were on last time. I think it's kind of a mixture, frankly, but the pattern, one of the patterns that we're seeing now is schools coming out like Iowa State did today and saying they've got a plan to have basically 30,000 fans in the stands. Now, again, how they do that and how they are able to pacify the other people who aren't, that's a real question mark at this point. And I think the other thing you're seeing is now Notre Dame came out and decided that they're going back to school 2 weeks earlier, and they're going to not go to school in December with concern of a second wave. I think you'll have a lot of people adopt that situation. But again, the optimism of just having players, coaches back into conditioning with some ADs like Greg McGarity said today at Georgia, we are planning on still, we hope, having a full house. You've got a little bit of everything going on today.
Well, we do. We've got a lot going on, and it inspired me to go take a look at what things looked like, Brent, in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic. And I mentioned, alluded a little bit to this earlier. That year, Alabama, they didn't play football because of World War I.
Right.
Arkansas, they were 3-2, played their first game September 28th. Then they played October 5th, 19th, 26th, and finished the year in November. Florida only played one game that year. Ole Miss was 2-3, played State home and home, dropped them both. Arkansas, by the way, that year, very different scoring then. They lost 103-0 playing OU. But the scoring
football?
In football, 1-0, but the scoring was very different than it is now. Notre Dame, that was Newt Rockney's first year at Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. They went 3-1-2, played a single game in September, took the entire month of October off, and then played the remainder of their season, the 5 games, in November. The Rose Bowl was played all 3 years in that stretch between Spanish flu and World War I. Rose Bowl still went off in 18, 19, and 20. And on New Year's Day of 1919, it was a riveting game. Great Lakes 17-0 over Mare Island. MVP of the game, Dave? Papa Bear, George Hallis.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you imagine those? Seriously, since you bring this up, could you imagine living in those times? 1918, 19, you're getting over the Spanish flu. Then you got the World War that is right around that. I mean, there could not be any certainty of life at that time.
No.
But they persevered, and we will too. And there's that great picture out there of Georgia fans, every fan in the stands with the face mask, with protective mask on, going to a game. We're going. But won't it be some different looking sunburns in those September games?
Oh man, yeah. And you know, there was it's funny you said that there was a special on that time just the other day. And part of that was that the problem they had was after that first wave, they had a second wave come in.
1919.
Where it was, help me, Brent, mutated and a lot worse.
Well, and that's what we're scared of now.
Yeah, we're certainly hoping that's not going to happen. But you know what was funny about that picture, that they've got these a slew of these men. If I remember that right, Brad, every one of them were in a suit and tie.
And top hat.
Yeah, and top hat, and had I'm guessing that was probably a handkerchief around their face. But now that was probably, I don't know if it said what month or whatever the game was, but man, I couldn't imagine being dressed like that in say September. I mean, Dave, it was like what you used to see at football when both the men and the the nines. Men had hats on, handkerchiefs in their pocket. I mean, it looked like, Brett, it looked like something out of GQ magazine sitting there, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and football really didn't start till late September then.
That's right.
It was a later start than August
Labor
like
Day.
we get now.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
We start too early. We just do.
Your plan, or not your plan, the Iowa plan that you referred to, how many, I'm trying to think, does it seat 60,000 or
Iowa State.
90,000 in Iowa State?
Jamie Pollard, they have 60,000.
So it's half filled.
So half.
Yeah.
And Greg McGarity, I mean, he's talking about a stoked, full.
He was.
Every seat taken at Georgia at Sanford Stadium. I about got to see that to believe it, Brent.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think in there somewhere was the need for everyone to have masks at that point. So, and again, there are several, shall we say, revolving plates going on here. One today was the announcement by all the TV networks that they were going to delay having the first 3 weeks of games, and that's logical. I can understand that. That doesn't mean we're not going to have a season. It just means they want to wait and have that appear at a later date. Now, Athlon and Lindy's is going to be on the magazines next week, which should give a lot of us a boost with that. I was disappointed that the Manning Passing Academy was canceled, but I get that too because that has become, frankly, a huge deal with Archie and the Mannings along that line. And again, we've still got the revolving plate of what do we do with SEC and ACC media days shortly after the Big Ten said that we're not going to have hours. We may do virtual, but we don't know.
Wow. I was a little surprised when not that they canceled, but that they hadn't even committed to doing it virtually, because every other conference, I think, has committed that they would do it on a virtual basis, which makes sense because you still want to promote your league.
Sure.
If you think there's going to be a season, the ACC and the SEC, I just don't see how they're going to be able to do this with players and coaches.
Right now, Georgia's not scared of much.
No, but you know, here's what I'd like to see, Brett. Remember that poll that they did a couple of, I'd say a month ago, 5-6 weeks ago, where 65% of America said they would not go
to see it updated
to a sporting event.
Yeah.
After what I saw this weekend, with what I saw in the Ozarks and what I've seen in convenience stores while traveling, I just don't believe those numbers would be the same. I think there's a lot of young people that say, I'm going.
Yeah, a lot of younger people really will, because it certainly is not the target demographic, but the perilous front there is they go home from school and infect their middle-aged parents or their older-aged grandparents.
Sure, absolutely. Well, no doubt. And do they? And the problem is, look, I've got two, 122 and 126, and I love them, but I also get the point to where there are times their generation doesn't think about a whole lot of other things except themselves.
Well, the beauty of that age, beauty of 20, is you don't have any idea that 50 really will get here, and it'll get here in about 10 seconds.
Absolutely. They really don't. And listen, still, I mean, I know what, at 62, I still think I'm in a pretty good shape, and there are days where I feel like I'm 25. There are others I feel like I'm 75, but you're exactly right about that.
Well, here's some numbers on the fatality rate below 25 years old. There. The fatality rate, if you're under 25, the fatality rate from COVID-19, follow along with these zeros, it is 0.00008%, or roughly 1 in 1.25 million. That's straight from the CDC.
And I think that's why, guys, people think that once players are on the campus and they're slowly brought back in, and they've got, as we've mentioned, better food, better sleeping conditions, that they'll be able to be within the tutelage of their strength and conditioning staff and so forth, that again, they will be safer on campus than some of them will be in their homes.
I think as we go forward, those numbers that you just gave are startling. We talked about this a few weeks ago when who's the young man from MIT and Yale Medical? Rivak, is that his name?
Dr. Avik Roy.
Avik Roy, yeah. I think as we get more and more into this, and if we have a second wave in particular, that we're going to look at odds and numbers the way we do in life as we do a sporting event. And we're going to go, look, if you're 14 to 25 years of age, which is basically high school through college, the odds are you could get it. But the odds of it killing you are minuscule, the number that you just read. And so if you're that age, you guys can go to restaurants, you guys can go to concerts, you guys can go to ball games, you can live your life in a very, very normal way like we used to prior to March 11th, 2020.
Promise.
But that's what I think we can say to them.
Yeah.
Based on odds. Now, there's going to be the exception, and to that one child that passes, to that parent, they'll never forgive themselves.
Because you know what? Because then that was 100%.
Right. But now, if you're 75, like some days you feel,
Brett,
you're not going to go because your odds are way up. So you're not going to take the chance. You're the one that's going to listen on radio or watch on TV.
Right. And what's going to be our appetite for positive tests? We're going to have them. We know what our appetite is for a single solitary death, and it would be one to shut everything down in college sports. And today I found it very interesting that in the New York Stock Exchange in New York City, it was reopened today. First time they were back in about 10 weeks. And every single floor trader had to have temperature taken, had to have a mask, had to be periodically checked temperature during the day, had to sign that they would agree to all this, had to eat off-site, no food on the trading floor. And this had to sign a waiver that you would not ride New York City public transportation to or from work, and you signed off on liability. Can't sue. Why can't we do that at college sports?
Yeah. Well, but I mean, will we get to that at some point? The way this thing's going, and there's still ramifications coming out of a lot of this. You guys probably saw where the articles earlier today about UConn probably getting rid of not one but several sports, and one of those very possibly being football.
They brought that on themselves. I think that was the point of the of the story in Sports Illustrated.
Yes,
and when it all came up, I don't know if I coined the phrase. I think I did. I said they are committing football suicide. They just decided they didn't care about football.
Yep.
It was too expensive. They were not going to make money on it because people didn't care. And somebody had just given them $2.5 million to build an indoor, some form of practice facility. Their games are in Hartford and they're in stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was difficult. But even in their BCS days, they had 1 or 2 or 3 really good years. They might have made a little money then because the TV money was so good.
To a BCS bowl.
Right.
But other than that, they weren't making money.
No. And there was a lot of suggestion about should they have gone down in another level for football, and by doing so, would they have survived much better than they have now?
My question for you is, how much more will you save if you do that? Either way, you're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot of money either way. You still have 65 scholarships if you go to FCS instead of 85. You're probably not taking a charter jet, but there's going to be some that you have to take a jet to. And
UConn's set to come to Oxford this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say, Brett, was that the other side of this is how it will affect the schedules of these teams playing them the next 2 or 3 years and on down the road.
I really did not understand their move. They did it because the only thing they really make money in, including the women's game that gets a $1 million deal from the Yes Network in New York, and that's really where they're at. They think they're a New York big powerhouse school, and frankly, they're not. I mean, the Big Ten thought the same thing about Rutgers, and I don't think that has exactly paid off for the Big Ten either.
No.
The problem here is that area, their fans, their alums never accepted the American. They were in a tight spot. I'll give them that. They were looking to try to appease all the basketball fans that missed the Big East so they could get that. But when they did that, they took a chance. They took away any chance of ever really making money on football again.
Brent, they were used to going to Madison Square Garden for that men's basketball tournament, and it was palpable among their fans and our friends with them and media with UConn. They thought they were coming to Hooterville to come to Memphis and play in a basketball tournament.
I bet they did.
Couldn't stand it.
Yeah. Well, and as Dave said a minute ago, they've reaped what they've sowed. So the reality is there aren't going to be a lot of people feeling sorry for them at this point either. That's a shame. I mean, you never want to see that go on. But there'll be a lot of people who look toward that and say that would be more of what they've created than probably even the COVID environment that we've seen over the last few months.
You know, I thought it was pretty funny the other day. We had Mike Oresco, the commissioner of the American, on, and I don't know if you quite caught this, Brett, but he said, well, you might have asked him about adding a school. I can't remember what brought the question up, and he goes,
kind of everybody fending for themselves.
And he kind of thought, well,
scheduling on the fly.
We've lost the school, but we're probably a better league because of it.
I noticed
I couldn't believe when he said that. I thought that was such a shot at UConn. But in essence,
it's true.
It is true. I mean, playing them in the league last year wasn't going to help you raise your stock.
And Brent, the best case scenario for UConn, wouldn't they, best case scenario, kind of be Villanova? Worst case scenario, they could be St. John's.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that Dave said reminds me of that old adage from when the pastor loses one of his most cantankerous deacons. He said, there are blessed subtractions.
Yes.
And there are times in life where there are.
Well, Brent, I wanted to ask a personal question of you. We know through philanthropic work and charitable work, you love to work with elder care centers, particularly hospice care. What has been your interaction with them, especially in a state of Florida where we have a lot of seasoned citizens? Are they scared? Are they scared of a New York style outbreak in their various facilities?
Well, I tell you, the worst thing about this whole thing is because of the lack of openness, and I get this from your typical nursing home, the families are not allowed to go in and see their loved ones.
It's awful.
And listen, you've got people, and we talk to them every day, that they have not seen their loved ones now in about maybe 2 or 3 months. So imagine not being able to see your mother or dad or whoever, or grandmother, except maybe through the plate glass window, and all you can do is wave at them. That to me is one of the worst things about the whole COVID thing. And look, we've gotten word that the nursing homes may not be open here until the end of July. So, but look, I get it. It's not so much that they're going to affect us, but the people from the outside going in and affecting them, and as that demographic we mentioned a few minutes ago, the person who may have it not realize it, he could wipe out an entire wing of a nursing home, unfortunately, in a situation like that. Now that's totally different than what we've been talking about with youth and players, but I think you guys understand that.
Oh, it's totally to protect those that live in the nursing home.
No question.
You can't let little Johnny, your grandson, who's 7 years old, who's been playing with everybody in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
And that nothing's going to happen to little Johnny, but you're right. He could, in fact, and we are getting these clusters in the senior citizens home. This is all to protect them, and it's needed. I hate it that it's that way, but if I had a mother like I used to in a nursing home, I wouldn't want anybody by her.
Sure.
And I'd have to go to the window where I know her room was and look in and say hi. That's all I would be able to do. And until, as you just said, Brent, until the end of July. As always, we appreciate it. We always get off in tangents, but I love them. Thank you. We appreciate it, Brent.
Always, guys. Take care, okay?
You got it.
Brent Beard down in Jacksonville, Florida. There is some stuff to talk about. I mean, you get your 180s. You get Georgia saying we're going to have we're going to have full stadiums, and you got Michigan going, I don't know if we're going to play football this year. So just like everything else, it is still way up in the air. Here's nothing up in the air. A great deal when you get a Homer Skelton Hyundai or a Genesis from Olive Branch. That's right, Genesis of Olive Branch. That's where I get my Genesis. I have the G70. Wow, I'm proud of that fact. I am. I love driving it. I mean, there's nothing more fun than going out and watching that car perform. So durable. With every one of these new cars, all that technology, a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty, I just love all the guys. And I've known them forever because they're the same people there that have been with me, other than Chris True as the GM. Same people all in place since they've become a sponsor of ours. That is rare, but that's what happens at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Part of the reason is they're always ahead of the game. First ones here to have 0% financing on all the new cars for 84 months. 0% financing and 120 days to make the first payment on select models. Please go and choose one. Select one. You'll love what you see if you get on Lamar into Mississippi. You turn left at the very first exit, Craft Road. Go see Chris True and all the gang. You'll thank me later. Unbelievable opportunity, great products at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. David Cobb from CBS. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more. Right here, R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Don't miss it.
Central Barbecue is committed to the health and safety of this community, who has supported Central for almost 20 years. Central Barbecue is still open for business with to-go and delivery options to serve the greater Memphis area with the same great barbecue you have come to know and love. With 4 locations to serve you, from downtown, midtown, and East Memphis, you can order your favorite barbecue and enjoy everything on the menu in the comfort of your own home. Call your nearest Central Barbecue location for more information on delivery and to-go options today.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes, and when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Hey everybody, our friends at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch say congrats to the high school and college class of 2020. And it's a great time to help your grad get a new or pre-owned Chevy. And if you're ready to get that new Suburban, Tahoe, Silverado, Blazer, or even pre-order one of those hot new Corvettes, All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch is where you want to be. Because the people at All-Star Chevy make it fun, easy, and safe, whatever makes you comfortable. They'll even bring any All-Star Chevy car, truck, or SUV to you. And you'll pay a lot less than at those city dealers. GM's financing means no payments for 4 months and 0 interest for 84 months. That's on any new Equinox or Silverado. Thousands in cash back with Blazers, Silverados, and more. And everybody at All-Star Chevy has one job: to make sure you get a better deal, have more fun, and in record time. And all sanitized and safe for you. They'll even pick up and deliver for maintenance and service. Remember, it's not the Pike, not South Haven, not Mount Moriah or Collierville. It's gotta be Olive Branch, people. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet today or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Though we're apart these days, we're sharing more. And Geico would just like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Now it's Geico's turn to share too with the Geico Give Back. A 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. And because Geico's committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Halfway through this Tuesday. Happy post-Memorial Day. Wolo and Stats with you. And now we bring in the young man from CBS Sports. That would be our friend David Cobb, who joins us now, who's been busy. A lot of stuff you wrote there. It was interesting, a bunch of stuff on the website today, including how James Wiseman now might be the number one draft choice, according to all of your guys' poll. And then I love the story, and you wrote it, about Huggins and Calipari, I guess, coming up in some sort of a podcast or some sort of a show going back and forth. I love the one when apparently Huggs was having a heart attack. David Cobb, why don't you take the story from there?
Hey, David.
Yeah, so as the story goes, Bob Huggins is having a heart attack probably sometime around 2000, and he's in the ambulance, and one of the paramedics says, "Don't worry, man. We're not going to let you die. Cal's got to beat you at least once before that happens." And the paramedic, as it turned out, was Cal's cousin. And that was at the onset of the Cincinnati-Memphis rivalry with Huggins and Calipari in the old CUSA. And Calipari went on to get him a couple of times. But still, even to this day, you wouldn't think it, but Huggins is 8-4 against Calipari all time, which is kind of surprising because when you think about the levels at which those two guys recruit and the just sort of national profile that Calipari seems to always have, you wouldn't think that Huggins would have him doubled up, but he does.
And Huggins got him with what I think might have been, if Anthony Davis that won that team that won the title, if that wasn't Cal's greatest team, then the one
Boogie and Wall were.
With Boogie and Wall, that team got beat in the Sweet 16. Wasn't it the Sweet 16?
16
or
the
Elite
8?
18? I think it was the 16. I don't think they got to
By
the 8.
Pittsnoggle and crew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Huggins and West Virginia got him.
That team had Patrick Patterson for UK as well. That was a loaded team. And David, I was thinking it watching the golf Sunday. I don't ever remember it ever being rancorous with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, competitive and wanting to beat the other one, plenty competitive, and that's fine. But I never got venomous. Well, we did get venomous for years with Tiger and Phil, and it's not that anymore. I like that. The Arnie and Jack Nicklaus, they bonded as the years go on. There was a time that Cal and Huggins that it was venomous, but I think you really start to almost fall in love with that other one against you in the arena like Huggs and Cal have.
Yeah, their friendship seems legitimate, and it's transcended. Well, I'll tell you what probably helped. One, if they were still battling it out in conference against each other,
good point,
and also competing for recruits,
there's
a good chance I feel like that relationship could have soured. But the fact is, I mean, Bob Huggins and John Calipari are not competing for prospects. I mean, if so, it's very rare occasions. They're recruiting in different hemispheres in terms of talent. And, Bob Huggins has made his living at West Virginia now with the Javon Carter-type players who are unheralded, who come in, often stay 4 years, defensive, hard-nosed, maybe undersized, and Cal obviously goes for those premier guys. So, but having said that, they have faced off, as you guys mentioned, last week's matchup. That the times that they've met in the years since have been pretty high-profile meetings. And watching this conversation that we had on the CBS Sports Connected show, apparently Calipari can take a loss a little bit better than Huggins because they normally get together like after they play or whatever and have drinks. And I guess it's a lot harder for Cal to get Huggins to come out and have a good time after he's lost than after Cal's lost, which is kind of funny. But it's cool that they've kind of kept that relationship over the years throughout their various stops. You think about the coaching landscape. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years from now, when the Coach K's and the Roy Williams, who are the giants of the profession, have started to move on or potentially retire, I mean, Cal's kind of going to be that old guard, and Huggins too. And so they're going to be sort of that next wave of sort of standard bearers in terms of like just the old guard as college basketball coaches. So, I mean, I think the game is in pretty good hands with them, and they, when their contrasting styles are, I don't know, good for the game because they've made their living as premier college basketball coaches in totally different ways.
The Bob Huggins story in Memphis, really, I think it was animosity fans with Huggins as opposed to coaches. Larry Finch had a great relationship with Bob Huggins. He really did. And I think Bob actually tried to fight.
The Blue Crew didn't.
No. The Blue Crew didn't like him. The Tomb of Doom guy, do you remember?
Bill Alexander.
No, not
led
Bill.
the charge.
This was David Tomb. David, big, heavyset kid who was a student until he was like 30. No kidding. and this was in the Pyramid, and he was
the Pyramid was the apex.
Right.
8 years.
He was a big kid, and he was way overweight, and he sat in the student section, and he was well past, should have graduated, whatever it was, and he was always getting on Huggins, and Huggins, actually got into it with him one time and put a finger in his mouth by his eyes, and the next time he came to town, he tried a different tact. He bought him a hot dog. He went and brought him a hot dog.
And David, I think of coaches through the years, the friendship between Frank Broyles and Darrell Royal, and they were in conference. You make that great point. It's kind of easier to be buddies when he's way over there, but if you're in conference. But they were in conference together, and both of them, non-Texas, Darrell Royal's bestie on earth was Frank Broyles. Frank Broyles' bestie on earth, non-Razorback, was Darrell Royal. And the quote was assigned to Joe Paterno. He said he didn't say it, but it went around that he did. Somebody was hitting on him about retiring in the 80s or early 80s at some point. And he said, what am I going to do? Leave college football to the Danny Fords, Jackie Sherrills, and Barry Switzers of the world? He said he didn't say it, but that quote stuck to him. And then the three he kind of disrespected, they ended up being elders of the sport, as John Calipari will be when we remember when he was the revolutionary.
The whippersnapper.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because one thing I've noticed, having covered both now for a few years, is that the legitimate friendships and relationships among coaches are more prevalent in college basketball than they are in college football. I mean, you get a coach, you get Jeremy Pruitt in a press conference the Monday before they played Georgia. I mean, he's going to tell the story about the time he had to drive Kirby Smart's wife to the hospital when she was about to give birth because they were both low-level staffers, at Alabama at the time or whatever. And it's a funny story. But I don't think those guys are hamming it up over the summers, maybe like some of these college basketball coaches are. And to illustrate that point, I'll never forget being at the SEC basketball tournament in St. Louis a couple of years ago and seeing Rick Barnes and Mike Anderson pass each other in the hallway, give each other a hug, and say, hey, I love you, man, and the other one goes, I love you too. And it was the most genuine and honestly surprising moment and interaction that I've seen because you hear those guys talk about the respect they have for one another like you do in college football, but you just see it more, I think, in college basketball. I mean, not to say that there aren't those rivalries and those coaches who really dislike each other, because I know there are, but I just think that the relationships among college basketball coaches, for whatever reason, maybe it's the amount of time they spend together at AAU events and conference tournaments where you're in the same place for more extended periods of time. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but they just seem to kind of have each other's back more. Where I think the college football staffs are a little more cutthroat. You have those stories where guys came up together under a certain coach, and they're still cordial and compliment each other publicly, but I don't get the sense that they always carry on the legitimate friendships over the years like some of these basketball coaches do.
Well, they're more paranoid would be
Yeah.
my way of putting it. And to illustrate your point, I'm going to go back with Cal. Two different stories. He used to hold a clinic every year. He would pay for it himself, or he'd have somebody to pay for it. But the coaches that were his buds were invited, and they would go down to Tunica, and they'd have a good night. They would hit the tables, and they'd eat in the steakhouse and drink the really good wine. But they were down there because during the days they would hold clinics, and they would bring the U of M players down there, and they'd be in a gym down in Tunica, and they would just run new drills. So the players were basically like doing experimental things for everybody to be involved with. It was literally live clinics. So you could try new things, and they all kind of brainstorm. Let's see. What if you
inbounds under the backboard?
What if you put this guy in this position here, put this guy out on the wing, let's try this rotation and this pass, and they would do it. And he would do that every summer and share all that information with guys that he considered friends. And I'll never forget this in the NCAA tournament, the day before Memphis waxed Michigan State, that pre-tournament press conference that they all have to go to. We're all sitting in the little makeshift interview room that they have at all these NCAA tournaments. And Tom Izzo was going on about the generosity, and this is the first time I'd really ever heard it referred to, the generosity of John Calipari when it comes to the game of basketball. And he had given a story where, I think it was earlier that year, when the Tigers really started doing a lot of dribble drive. And that was a guy named Van Wahlberg's offense that Cal invited him down, and he shared the offense with, and Cal took it to another level. But Izzo had called him a couple of times that year to ask him about the dribble drive. And he was saying, and the guy's giving me everything I want. He's sending me
ran
video.
It on him the next night.
He's sending me video. I mean, I couldn't believe it. He was basically saying he's a teacher of the game, and he doesn't mind sharing. And I think they want to beat the heck out of each other, but they respect where they are in the game, and they want the game to be better. They want to share all that info.
Yeah, Izzo's great, too. You mentioned him. I know some of my friends have covered Michigan State. And he'll say, like, after their press conference with the cameras or whatever, they'll click off their recorders and turn off the cameras and whatnot, and they'll just, like, sit around and talk ball. And these sessions have been known to go for, close to an hour, which is just unthinkable in college football. I mean, it's just completely, out of the question at 99% of Division I programs now because of that paranoia you mentioned. But in college basketball, even at Tennessee, when I covered Rick Barnes and his program there for a couple of years, once a week we'd get to watch an entire practice. And you open it up like that, and by the end of it, I mean, most of the reporters have left because they're not even all that interested. But, a handful of us would stay until the end.
Learn a lot.
And, it was awesome. And I've heard other people talk about how Cal used to do that here. And I love the idea, Wolo, of John Calipari and some college basketball coaches taking a bunch of players down to Tunica. There's just a number of ways I feel like that could go wrong.
It didn't, though.
It didn't.
It didn't. You know what? The problem was Beale Street for some of those guys, like Joey Dorsey.
And David, we talk about these relationships, and by all reports, I don't know because I haven't been around him much at all. Not much to it. I hadn't been around him at all because of the pandemic, and this is usually when I would get to know an Ole Miss coach. But from everything everybody says, Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach aren't just buds. They're really good friends. They're tight. And sadly, the apex of their friendship, it's today. It'll be a little less tomorrow, especially with these transfers. It'll be a little less tomorrow.
Exactly.
And a little less Thursday, and a little less in July, and a little less in September. And then come November, it'll be a lot less.
Well, I hope one day, once all this is over, and they've retired and moved on, that we can have a really great documentary about it, and that they'll make amends and be great friends and have fun down at Key West at Beach's Beach House. But for now, I wouldn't mind seeing that relationship completely crumble and provide us with a lot of Egg Bowl entertainment, because the potential is there for something just absolutely unbelievable with those two coaches. That's my biggest disappointment about what I was looking forward to about sports this spring. Maybe an exaggeration to say the biggest disappointment, but I was really hoping to get down to Buckville and to get down to Oxford and to maybe do a story on each one of those new coaches and their spring practice. And I mean, because I think it's almost been overlooked in all this because we didn't have spring practice. But, I mean, we have two of the most entertaining football coaches. I might actually say the two most entertaining college football coaches in the country within a 3-hour drive of Memphis right now. And they're, about to square off in, what is indisputably, especially after the way last year's game ended, one of the best rivalries in college football. So I'm excited to see the chapters unfold there, because I can guarantee you it's going to be interesting.
Well, here's the good news for you. The good news is June 8th, they're all going back to camp. That story is there for you to go and grab.
We'll go to Oxford together.
I need you to kind of be my not my tour guide, Stats, but to make some introductions on my behalf.
I'm only allowed in Octavia County every other year. I can't go to Starkville with you.
Okay. Well, we could. You'll have a mask on. You can pull a ball cap down low or something.
I'll do it.
We'll figure it out.
You got it. You got it, David. Thank you much. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Thank you, David. No, David's going to take a vacation next week. We'll talk in 2 weeks, David. Thank you.
You got it. Enjoy your vacay.
All right, guys.
You got it.
Bye-bye. That is David Cobb from CBS Sports. We've got to take a timeout. When we come back, I do want to ask you about Jerrion Jones. That's the transfer from Mississippi State to Ole Miss. And there's some really good news for a Tiger baseball player. We'll tell you about that next.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Frontier Western Store is open and ready to serve you for all your needs in boots, apparel, pet food, and more. Frontier is proud to be a local leader here in the Mid-South when it comes to boots. Stop by the store today for an incredible selection of name brand work and dress boots. Come browse aisles and aisles of top quality boots at everyday low prices in our world famous boot showroom. Dan Post, Rocky, Durango, Twisted X, Georgia, Ariat, and many more. There are so many styles, colors, and fits available, you might need a hand picking out your favorites. Luckily, Frontier's knowledgeable sales staff will cheerfully assist you with any questions you have and ensure the proper fit of your new boots. Frontier also has an amazing selection of jeans and shirts by Wrangler, Ariat, and Carhartt, as well as a fully stocked women's boutique department with thousands of tops and dresses at unbelievable prices. New arrivals often. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Gilman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
Do you get into bed and find your mind still going? If so, try ZzzQuil Pure Z's liquid melatonin. It's made with an optimal level of melatonin for no next day grogginess. Pure Z's liquid melatonin, because sleep is a beautiful thing, at stores now.
With all the overtime our appliances have been taking on these last several weeks, it wouldn't be shocking if one called it quits. Silver lining? Maybe you wanted a new one anyway. Lowe's has you covered with 12-month special financing to help with the unexpected. And up to 40% off select appliances, including the best brands to fit your style and budget. Plus, we'll even deliver for free. Download our app or shop Lowe's.com today. Offers valid through 6/3. Free local delivery and credit applies to appliances $299 or more. Subject to credit approval. Exclusions apply. U.S. only.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches. 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper. 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase. And 6280 Highway 64 in Oakland. Or visit firstbankonline.com. Member FDIC.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
My world was strapped against
Welcome back in. By the way, happy birthday, Brent Musburger, 81 years old today.
You're looking live at Brent Musburger's birthday party.
81 years old.
You know
Still,
he's in Montana.
Is he in Montana or is he in Vegas?
I think Bruce Marshall told me because I wanted to catch up with. I put in a request to Bruce to see if we could get Brent Musburger around the passing a week or so ago of Phyllis George, and he said, I think he's escaped to Montana until this passes, and I bet he's being inundated with a lot of requests. Let me pass on bugging him about it, but I'll get him for you guys sometime soon.
Okay. I'd love to talk to him. I've told you my story about him, right? Where when I was a freshman at SIU, I just called him from my newsroom to his newsroom. Gave me 45. He would have given me as much time as I wanted.
That's great.
Never.
And then you had a relationship with his brother for years.
He was
business relationship.
Todd. Yeah, he was my agent.
Yeah, and he was always Brent Musburger's. He captured the big stuff, didn't he?
Oh, You Are Looking
Happy
Live
81.
was
You knew
as
it was
good
big.
as I put him in the same category, and I'm not trying to grade anybody or anything, but I put him in the Kurt Gowdy.
Keith Jackson, Dick Enberg, Pantheon,
and Jim McKay. Jim McKay and Kurt Gowdy were the two biggest.
All right, we're getting way off track. Jim Simpson in that?
Not to the Kurt Gowdy, Jim McKay.
Charlie Jones?
I'd put.
They're in the next grouping.
I put Simpson and Charlie Jones
in a real
the next
good grouping.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who else I put in that grouping: Ray Scott.
I think I agree on every designation so far, and there's nothing wrong with either group.
I wish they would say that about me. Trust me.
You know, I take Pat Summerall.
Yeah, Pat Summerall I put him in. You know, you got to realize Pat did more than just the football.
U.S. Open with Tony Trabert was great.
And don't forget he did golf.
Yeah.
I guess I would put him actually above Ray Scott. But I still the
Don Criqui.
Oh, Don Cricky's below those guys. I don't know why Don Criqui never made it bigger than he did. He had a great voice, but for whatever reason, he kept getting bounced around a bit and lost power.
Is that next group Don Criqui and Joel Myers?
Yeah, Joel Myers would be below Don Criqui.
Okay.
Yeah. But great announcers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Fabulous Lives would trade with all of them.
Yeah, before we run out of time here, I did want to let everybody know Hunter Goodman, the catcher for the University of Memphis, second year in a row now. Today he was named All-American. He's on the second team All-American. He was the freshman of the year in the conference last year and unfortunately got cut off, but he was having another great season, and you hate it for him. But Hunter Goodman, second year in a row, he becomes All-American. So that's big news for him and for the University of Memphis. And you mentioned a little earlier the relationship between Mike Leach and
sure to deteriorate. Maybe it won't, but it almost has to.
Well, I don't know what happened with defensive back Jarian Jones. Here's a
and
really
today,
good player.
Another player, possibly Fabian Lovett from the defensive side, transferring. It's position coaches.
Yeah,
but
that's a good get for Lane Kiffin.
I would tell the youngsters that are doing it already. A lot of the gasoline on the pregame Egg Bowl fire is relationships from high school. Whether let's say a linebacker at State was the host for great wide receiver on his recruiting visit, and they get tight, and he kind of tells him, "I'm leaning towards signing with," or vice versa,
right.
And then they end up going
the
other
other way.
They find each other pregame. Our rivals from high school find each other pregame. Now you know who's going to find these two players or other players.
They
that
were
do
all
it.
teammates.
And for Ole Miss fans, I'm going to tell you. Tomorrow morning, the headline could be Ole Miss player going to Mississippi State.
Right.
And you may not like it as much.
But
then.
how many serious Ole Miss former coaches went with Mike Leach? We know there's a couple that went from Starkville to Oxford.
Well, and Terrell Buckley, T-Buck, one of the most notable. And
he's the guy that Jones followed.
And he's in the middle of all this. I wish somebody would help me at 67129 at the First Bank text line. I can only remember one player ever. I'm not saying there's just one. I can only remember one ever to play at both places, and I thought it was Brett Tyler who started at State when his dad was head coach, and then he was relieved of his duties, and then Brett Tyler, I think, finished at Ole Miss. I don't know many through the years that have been on both sides. Not many in the Iron Bowl, some, but and a few more than I think Egg Bowl, but some. But we're going to have more and more of it, Dave, across college sports because we've wanted to give them this freedom. We've wanted to give them this liberty. And what part of liberty and freedom do you not get? If I don't like it here, I can leave in 2 seconds.
Right. Only once, though.
Only once. And what it's going to do to you, not as much at 20, but at 30. That you've been at both places, and you really stirred the pot pretty good at both places. I hope they would think about that before on either side they do it. But you're going to look up. The guy that's the hero of the rivalry game one year, a few years later, may be beating you.
People forget, though. Honestly, people forget.
And
when
Dave,
you're
I
in
don't
your
think
30s,
we forget anything.
Well, look, I'll give you a good example. Billy Richmond, wing guru, he left Memphis to go to Vandy. Nobody's ever said anything about that.
That's a good point. Tarek Black.
Tarek Black, who's the kid that left Memphis to go to Ole Miss and played his final year at Ole Miss. Good player.
Markel Crawford.
He's practicing at the Laurie Walton Center with guys.
And when you think of Markel, do you think Tiger or Ole Miss? I think Tigers.
Oh, I think Tiger.
I do too.
But he did play that last year in an Ole Was uniform.
But I don't know in the football world, Dave. I think we're going to remember.
Well, there was a who's the guy? I was just thinking he's an old guy, and I think he was a quarterback, and he played at both schools. He finished at Memphis, but he started at Ole Miss. He's a good player, and nobody's ever held that against him.
Maloof.
No.
He
just before Maloof.
His dad played at Ole Miss.
This is he was a really good athlete quarterback.
Billy Fletcher.
That's exactly right. People forgave Billy Fletcher.
They did. You have enough time, but did they at 30?
Well, I don't know. That's a good point.
They did at 50.
They did. That's true. That's 2 hours in this books. The portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. And the tune-up. I can't forget about the tune-up. Tune-up's the best thing. 384-3511. Now's the time. It's starting to get consistently hot. You want your house to be cool. You want your system to last long, and you don't want to pay an arm and a leg. If your system is efficient, your MLGW bill is lower, and your system will last years longer. My wife and I, we get ours tuned up twice a year. Once for summer, once for winter. 384-3511. They come and they do this just terrific 16-point energy saver super tune-up. They replace your filter inside, tune everything up, go outside, clean the whole outside unit. All of a sudden, it's terrific. They check for leaks now, too. Part of the deal, all for $69. Please call Conway. 384-3511, 384-3511. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. We haven't talked any NFL today, but we do next with Bo Marchand.
Whether you're working remotely, taking web classes, binge-watching TV, or gaming, Dell is here to help you find the right tech. From XPS and Alienware computers that are redefining what's possible with 10th Gen Intel Core processors to the latest top brand electronics, our seamless tech solutions will help keep you connected. Plus, get free shipping. Call us today at 800-BY-DELL. That's 800-BY-DELL.
Blood and plasma donations are more important than ever. People all around the world still depend on the medicine your plasma helps make. That's why Interstate Blood Bank and Plasma Biological Services are open and will remain open for our donors. The United States government has declared blood and plasma donation as a critical infrastructure industry. That means healthy donors are allowed to travel to and from donation centers regardless of any stay-at-home mandates in your area. We need you to keep donating so that we can continue to manufacture these life-saving medicines. We understand that you may be concerned about COVID-19. The health and safety of our donors and our employees remain a top priority. To limit the spread of the virus, we're taking additional measures to ensure our centers are safe and clean. Donating now is more important than ever, but please do not come to the center to donate if you are not feeling well or have a sore throat, fever, cough, or shortness of breath.
We are doing our part so that you can do yours. Come donate today at one of our IBBI or PBS locations across the Memphis area.
Oh, my stomach.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Try new Pepto-Bismol Chews. The same fast relief of Pepto-Bismol, now in a delightful chew.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Periscope. Don't miss out on anything. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Busy, fun Tuesday. We keep it going in this final hour, and we started off with Bo Marchant talking the NFL. They say they're going to play no matter what. We believe them, don't we? But first, I want to tell you about DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales and check out all the happy referrals online at DeSotoAutoSales.com. All the cars test driven, all checked out head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you at DeSoto Auto Sales, where no shortcuts are ever taken. You're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales, and they care about your time. They want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience because they know we're living in a world today it's almost indescribable, but they know that time really matters, and they want you to test drive a car, credit approved, paperwork completed, and be gone in about 45 minutes, and be gone very happy and very pleased. DeSotoAutoSales.com at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
Bo Marchant from collegetopro.com is going to join us in a second. First, a couple of quick texts on the First Bank text line at 67129. One says, who's going from State to Ole Miss? It's not going to State from Ole Miss. It's the opposite way, and it's that really good defensive back, Jerrion Jones, who's following his position coach there. Second, this one's for you, Brett. Please state the percentage of those 25 and under getting and died COVID again, please. And this is a need for some kind of ball camp that they are having, and I think this would be sort of the thing that would be important for them to hear.
Okay, according to the CDC, as my reference, the fatality rate, this was reported by Chuck Calestro, and the fatality rate, according to the CDC data, for below 25 years of age is 0.0008%, or roughly 1 in 1.25 million.
1.25 million people who would get the coronavirus under the age of 25 would die.
1 out of 1.25 million under 25.
Yeah. So there is your answer.
But they could be a super spreader.
Well,
they could. But killing them, unlikely.
Right. Not killing them could kill you.
Yes, right. And who would want that on your conscience?
Well,
but
that's it. That is the number, though, that you were looking for. In the meantime, we got another number to talk about. That's with Bo Marchant, collegetopro.com, and that number is full stadium. That's what the Miami Dolphins were talking about today, saying there will definitely be a season, and he sees full stadiums. What do you think about that, young man?
Well, if it comes to fruition, I'd be excited. I think fans would be excited. The NFL would be excited because revenues would be up to par with what they would want. I texted with two scouts today. It wasn't so much about the season and having packed full stadiums, but they felt, that they were right around the corner in terms of getting back to the facility and I guess, doing everything COVID-19 style in the building rather than being at home or via, kind of like a satellite type business of what we've seen of late. So if it comes true, I hope. We've seen the NFL. Granted, they've been able to do these things that didn't require actual people, being in large gatherings in terms of free agency and the NFL draft. But nonetheless, it's close, and we know that's where they're edging for. So, I think we'll see it. I don't know about full stadiums in terms of max capacity, and we don't even know, usually by now the media credentials are somewhat filled out, and you're getting ready for all that. And, I know the Steelers haven't mailed those out yet, so who knows what the media part of it's going to be like, too.
Yeah, we could see a very, very different media world, but for the fans' world, we could see it different as well. Bo, whenever this is all over, whenever the history of the virus, of the pandemic of 2020 is written, Roger Goodell will deserve credit. He will deserve credit for plowing forward and having that draft in some style. We needed that. If we hadn't have gotten it, I think you could add 2 or 3 more weeks to the back end of whenever we get started back, because we needed something at that time to blunt the momentum of let's not have anything.
Yeah, well, the brilliant move on the NFL parts in terms of the draft, and it wasn't something I was really thinking of at the time, but when you look back and reflect on that moment, they weren't going to have it in Las Vegas. There was going to be no people. But nonetheless, they were not going to get that back this year anyway. It wasn't like they were going to be able to do it at another date. It's the draft. It's the first part, behind the free agency, but it's that, the first part of where the season begins, these teams are doing what they have to do. So, they didn't lose anything, but they looked good. I think everybody out there who watched really, it was lighthearted in terms of you got to see the families and just coaches at home sitting at a table. It wasn't such a business type, situation. The war room that we're accustomed to seeing. It was GMs and coaches sitting privately, or if they weren't private, they were with their animals at home or their pets or their friends. I should say their families. And even the players. It wasn't some big gala. It was mom and dad, brother and sister. So I think that reflected fantastic on the NFL, and they plowed through. And he took some criticism. I know, there was some criticism when free agency was about to start because we were really about the curve, where we're going to see the spike and what was going to go on. But nonetheless, absent of these guys getting their physicals at team facilities, teams felt comfortable enough to, sign these guys and do what they had to do. And really, besides just the gluttony of high-profile society and life of jet-setting these guys around and sending them to the finest steakhouse, it was like, you know what? If you want to play for Team A, here's your contract. Come play with us. And you didn't have to sugarcoat and do all those other things that usually go into that free agency role.
I don't know that there would have been any time difference on anything had there not been the draft at that point. I do agree with you, Brett, that we needed something. We were all depressed, and there was nothing going on at that time. That was the first sort of distracting moment.
It was dark old days in April.
And as long as you did that without being disrespectful of something, then it was the perfect thing to do. And there was really no disrespect at all. Even if you were, at that moment, things were really going bad in New York City. But I don't think I ever read any kind of op-ed piece in the New York Times or any Atlantic or anything that took a shot at Roger Goodell for trying to bring back some normalcy. So it turned out to be, it was a really good thing, PR-wise, and you do have to do the business of the league. Life does still go on, and there are things that have to be accomplished.
Well, Dave, if you remember, though, some of the GMs, remember, because there was a little backlash from the commissioner's office where these guys were, Mickey Loomis of the Saints, these guys were saying they really don't feel comfortable with the idea of not having the full team on site to do these draft things. And the NFL came down and said, listen, you're not going to go publicly and kind of, go against what we're going to do. And, if you don't like it, get on board, because we know the shield rolls on. They don't stop for anybody.
The shield rolls on. That is the truth. And Bo, with that, OTA's not rolling on, but plans for the season rolling on. There was a time I would have bet about anything I could have gotten my hands on that they shouldn't even printed and made out the preseason schedule. I'm calling it now. On Thursday, let me get the right date, Thursday, August 6th, Hall of Fame game in Canton that you always go to, you'll be there. They'll have it.
I think you're right. I mean, there was a point where I said, this is never going to happen. Nobody likes preseason football anyways. If they're ever going to have an opportunity to kind of scratch it and just move forward with the season, this is the time to do it. But it does seem like it's going to happen. I mean, barring some, setback where we kind of get back to the fear and where we were, a month, 2 months ago, I think it does go off. And I'm going to be excited. I told you, basically through the draft season, my life remained relatively normal. But, by this time, I've seen the rookies practice down in Pittsburgh. I've been able to cover the team. You're starting to see these guys practice and just not see that. And it does feel, because we're all used to routines. We're creatures of habit. And, being down there in the city and going to the South Side and just being in that atmosphere. And it's kind of everybody, it's like a season renewal for everybody. You have your normal beat writers, but for everybody, it's like a gathering. How's the family? What's going on? You see the players that you're accustomed to seeing. And, that's all on the back burner now. We're all waiting that first time where you can talk to, Charles Claiborne, Chase Claiborne for the Steelers and, some of their first picks of this 2020 season. And that's like that for everybody. You really haven't been able to sink your teeth in to see them. You haven't been able to speak to them, share who these guys are with the public. But, hopefully it comes around and it comes around sooner rather than later.
Speaking of exhibition football games, we had Joe Theismann on, I don't know, 2 months ago, and he was talking about how it would be a big mistake if they just stopped playing exhibition games. He felt it was incredibly important.
He came through in a stretch where they're playing 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And he thought, okay, maybe you could do away with one, but no more than that. You needed at least 3 games without question. And I was thinking, I can't stand these exhibition games. Maybe play 2 just so veterans get 1 game and the others don't. Well, Matt Nagy, the brilliant offensive-minded coach of the Chicago Bears.
Drew, we didn't bring him up, did we?
Matt Nagy.
No,
we didn't.
I mean, this is not on us day.
He finally brought up today that maybe he made a mistake last year.
He took the preseason off.
He did not let them play 1 snap for all 4 games. His contention was, what are you talking about? They don't need snaps in a game. They're going to get 2,000 to 3,000 snaps from OTAs and practice in the spring, okay? We don't need exhibition football snaps. Now he's changed his mind because the Bears' offense in the first 4 weeks of the season was literally anemic. So, do we put more new importance on playing these guys in the exhibition games, especially now that we haven't had these OTAs this year?
Yeah, but I mean, usually the third preseason game is the game that they let the starters roll the most, and then they shut them back down. I think that should be protocol. I mean, I think these guys do need their reps. In terms of other comparisons, I mean, if you go see a Broadway show, you want to see these people perform. You just don't want them to show up on a Friday night and not have sung or done anything for a week. I mean, no different than the National Football League. I mean, when they don't get a lot of snaps during practices, we know that. The stars are usually on the sidelines. They'll run some routes, they'll do some things, but nonetheless, they're not like the typical guys that are grinding out play after play in the hot summer sun. So I'm a big advocate. You guys know that I love preseason football. I think it's a vital piece to what we see come late in the season. These teams need to evaluate these guys, and I even think the best of the best, they need that camaraderie with the new faces, even the old faces. I mean, very few teams don't have a new face somewhere along the offensive defense, and you need to find out, what's this guy's habits, what's his routine, where can we pick up and have some chemistry together. So I'm all for it. On the flip side, when your fantastic superstar injures his leg or does something nasty in a preseason game, doesn't matter what point to that preseason game it is, that coach, everybody on that staff, they're going to catch fire because why were you playing? So that's it in a nutshell. If we can make sure these guys would not get hurt, they might play all the preseason games, but that is the risk that you take if you play a superstar. You just can't imagine, why did we have our superstar playing in the third quarter in Buffalo for this meaningless game? But nonetheless, it is part of the sport, and it stinks if you get hurt, but to me, it's part of the process. You're playing a violent game. That injury could come at any time.
When somebody signed Cam Newton?
Well, it's funny you brought that up because I was I was thinking about Joe Flacco going to the Jets, and I'm thinking, where does Cam Newton fall into this part? No, I think Cam is at the point now. I mean, if something would have came along prior, he would have signed the contract if he thought he had a good situation. And I think right now he's just kind of, not hold out hope that, something bad happens to somebody else on those, starting jobs. But, if somebody gets dinged up or has a setback where they're going to miss some time, then, I think he's a good commodity to bring in. And, he's a guy that I think you would feel comfortable with, that have you win some games. I mean, barring him not being able to suit up and be physically fit to do it, which I believe he's at that point where he could be. I mean, I think most teams would really enjoy the idea of having Cam Newton as a backup or a guy that they could use. But, veterans have been through it. We've seen it time and time again. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney isn't on a team, but you know what? His time will come, and, he'll find a team. Somebody may go down, or the right spot, unfolds as this gets deeper and we start to open up. And who knows? Cam Newton, we saw with Jay Cutler. He was going to be in the broadcast booth. Ryan Tannehill tills a knee. Cutler comes out of the booth, and he's in Miami for a year. So it happens every season, and I think that's where Cam Newton is. It's not so much as, that window of opportunity to start passed, and now he's probably just banking on, I can sign somewhere. I know that, but at the end of the day, I'm going to hold out hope, and maybe I can find a starting job before this 2020 season. Hopefully it gets underway.
What do you think really happened to Cam Newton? I've been sitting here. Cam Newton.
Injury.
It's just like RG3. He just never came back from the injury.
Well, and I think some of it, Bo, was really what should have been illegal hits to him, but because, as Paul Hornung said to us at a Super Bowl, Cam Newton, 6'6", 250, was bigger than any of his offensive and defensive linemen that he played with Lombardi's Packers with. And he took some shots that if you hit Baker Mayfield like that, it's going to be a penalty, and you're probably going to be kicked out of the game. It was a little bit the Shaq effect, how Shaq got beat up. And
I was just going to say that. Yeah, it was like the Shaq attack. I mean,
nobody feels sorry for the big guy. And I don't know what it is about little guys, but today I walked in, and because we social distance and you can't touch anybody, every time I walk in here, Big Gabe Kuhn, who played football at the University of Memphis, works here with us. I don't know, every time I see him, I kind of want to, give him a little punch to the shoulder. He could tear my head off.
Cam played a physical game, and he used his body to his advantage. But we know that, and no one can argue with a straight mind that there was plenty of flags that should have been called for roughing the passer or quarterback taking a little bit. Yeah, but then again, it was part of his persona of who he was and how he played, and I think maybe referees had to identify that a little bit different too. Just hypothetically, Alex Smith or Baker Mayfield weren't going to be that physical runner that was going to do a damaging hit on a defensive back, a la like a Cam Newton. So I think you got to kind of look at it both ways. Did he get his more than fair share of hits that would have been a little harder and no flags? Yeah, but he laid a lot more hits on on defenders than vice versa. And I think at the end of the day, and down at the combine, I talked to a lot of people, and you're just trying, at the time, free agency was about to begin. You're thinking about all these big quarterback names, and the people I spoke to who were closest to the Panthers situation, at least the beat writers and people I know of that such, is, they just don't know where he is physically. Is his body able to hold up? And he had such an off season in terms of, injuries and where he's at, where teams really haven't been able to kind of go under the hood and check him. And, we could talk about, free agency and guys signing without, we know Todd Gurley and his knee. Well, Todd Gurley, missed one game, I believe, last year. He was still the leading rusher for the Rams. Cam Newton spent the last 2 seasons being pretty banged up. So, it's a significant investment if you really don't know what this guy is. And I think if we lived, pre-COVID-19, Cam could have took these visits. These doctors could have examined him and really found out, hey, this is how this guy is. This is where he's at. And at the end of the day, that wasn't able to happen. On the flip side, people could say, well, how about Tua Tagovailoa? Again, if your medical team feels comfortable with the guy, you feel comfortable because you're the doctors you hired and they give it, the thumbs up, then you go with their decision. I just don't know if that was the same case with Cam Newton.
You used the term going under the hood, and the NFL came out, or one of the rules guys came out and said, well, we blew it. We blew the review of pass interference, and we went too soon with it. We didn't structure it correctly, and so now it's out the window. What are some of the?
They didn't even utilize it down the stretch.
Well, no, they didn't, because it was never going to get called.
It was
impractical. Yeah. What do you think will happen? I know they're talking about the sky cam thing they're going to do and all the other. What kind of rule changes do you think we will have coming for this season?
Well, I think in terms of the pass interference, I think when they, from the Saints game and the blown call, I just think the NFL they tried to pacify the fans and everyone out there that was disgusted with the lack of the call for the Saints. And when that instant replay rule went into effect last year, even when, at least in my mind, even the blatant pass interference calls were not overturned. And I just thought it was the NFL looking in a way of saying, hey, we're going to still back the referees and their decision, and we're not going to kind of, show them in a bad light, and we're just going to continue on this path. And that's what I took of it. So, in terms of rule changes, the 4th and 15 is getting the most publicity right now in terms of the onside kick, and they're going to do it. And that sounds like that has momentum. I don't know if I agree with it, but, people like to see teams have an opportunity. And football is one of those sports where, usually you always have very few sports you're allowed to sit on the ball and win the game. Basketball, granted, if it's a close game, it's going to be 0.0 of a second. Baseball, you have to strike the guy out. Hockey, it's till the time goes out. Football is that game where you can have a fantastic game and somebody gets a first down and it's over. And I know it's kind of different from the rules of the 4 and 15, but an onside kick is such a hard thing to do, especially with them changing the kickoff cut, in terms of where they kick off now.
For safety.
Yeah,
train
wreck.
And even that, people out there be like, this guy's out of his mind, but I'm telling you, I feel like I watch as much football as anybody else, but to me, deep pass routes, guys going over the middle, receivers taking those hits, Avontes Burfict on an Antonio Brown, those are the hits that knock people out. I don't remember a hit in a magnitude of like we see usually on kickoff. I just don't. It's usually in the plays of offense and defense as a series where you see these guys really, get cracked, and it's usually the people, out in that secondary, the guys that are really, really flying. You're not going to see like a defensive lineman, get concussed because you got hit too hard by an offensive lineman, because they're just so close. It's, you're going to have that momentum. It's usually those deep routes and the guys crossing the middles and things of that nature. So I know they like to emphasize the kickoff, but if you really, and granted, there might be stats to prove me wrong, but just as a person who watches the game, tries to know about the game, I just think that's just kind of a way to pacify and act like they're doing the right thing, where at the end of the day, the problem is not the kickoffs. It's watching these guys go downfield and having these defenders waiting for them.
On through the years, in the most serious injuries, the paralysis type injuries, I remember here in Memphis in the 70s on kickoff coverage, and he passed away, I'm going to say about 20 years ago. Bill Crumbie for the University of Memphis Tigers was very seriously injured. The play that Chucky Mullins got hurt on at Ole Miss, that play happens every play. It was just the freak of nature. Jack Tatum on Derek Stingley. There was a Tiger football player from early 70s that got hurt for the Raiders in a preseason game very seriously. Ray Jamison. I'm pretty sure that was on kick coverage. You don't know where they're coming from.
No.
And
look at the Ryan Shazier injury. He was just going to make a tackle.
That's it. And the late Kevin Turner, who died from the complications of ALS, he said the play, if he had to mark one, he said he was the kind of the guy to blow up the wedge on kickoff coverage, kicking off to the other team, and he said he went down just as a battering ram, and he said I was out a couple of days.
I will tell you your point is you never know.
You never know,
and it could be the most innocuous one. We see that in car crashes. That Newman walked away from that without anything, and
he rode in on his head on fire.
And Dale Earnhardt had nothing. The worst. That I personally saw of all the college football games that I have watched as a fan or announced, the worst injury in person that I ever saw was Steve Matthews.
On
a quarterback sneak against Ole Miss.
Joe Theismann injury, Bo, and they said people down on the sideline could hear it. That's graphic enough. It was horrible.
You never know.
You never know.
Beau Marchant, thank you very much. As always, we appreciate it. We will talk to you next week.
Hey, guys, stay safe. Talk next week.
We will.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Beau. Beau Marchant with us every week. Hey, everybody at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. They say congratulations to the high school and college class of 2020. A great time to help that grad get a new or pre-owned Chevy. And if you're ready to get that new Suburban, Silverado, Blazer, Tahoe, or even pre-order one of those hot new Corvettes, All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch, that's where you want to be. The people at All-Star, they make it fun, easy, and safe. Whatever makes you comfortable. They'll even bring an All-Star Chevy, car, or truck, or SUV to you, and you'll pay a lot less than at those city dealers. GM's financing can mean no payments for 4 months and 0 interest for 84 months. Any new Blazer, Silverado, Equinox, thousands of cash back with all those Silverados included. Everybody at All-Star Chevy, one job. Make sure you get a better deal, have more fun, and do it in record time, and everything sanitized and safe for you. They even pick up and deliver for maintenance and service. Remember, it's not Mount Moriah or Collierville, not South Haven, not the Pike. It's got to be Olive Branch. Find new roads to All-Star Chevy today or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Earlier today, we talked with Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal about the pandemic. We will replay that interview next.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Limb Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC accredited facility, and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Limb Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
Our life to yours. Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
Every home has have-to-dos and probably some want-to-dos. The Home Depot can help you do both with the things you need to make things work a little better, or take care of something you've been meaning to do. Maybe do something to start summer. We have the low prices to make it all doable. Order online and get free delivery on orders over $45. Whatever you need to do or want to do, we can help you get it done. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Some delivery exclusions apply.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Though we are apart these days, we're sharing more, and Geico would like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Thanks for sharing your inner lip sync star. Now it's Geico's turn to share too, with the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. And because Geico's committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for information and eligibility.
Got something you want to get off your chest?
You better have a backup plan.
Want to join the conversation?
Someone needs to tell him he has to grow up.
Join us on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255 or the First Bank text line at 67129. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Halfway through our final hour, It's brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a big decision you're going to make. You're going to build that dream home, that palace. You've been thinking about it for years. You may even have family land. You're not sure what you're going to do with it. Ken knows. He and his dad, for 2 generations, they've been building these homes or renovating homes. Maybe you love where you live. You love the location. The lot is beautiful. You love your trees. You don't want to give that up, but you are tired of a smaller, older home. Renovation with innovation. That is a Ken Garland specialty. Maybe you're looking for a new development, land that you would like. You don't necessarily have it, but you're not sure. There's a new development called the Leylon. It's a gated community by Boyle. Ken's involved. It's on Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes in this beautiful area start at $875,000. If you're ready to make your move, first go see what I'm talking about. Go to kengarland.com, then give Ken a call. He's really an interesting guy to talk to. 751-1632, that's the number. 751-1632, that's the number to Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. As always, earlier in the day, we talked pandemic in Memphis with an expert. Today, we talked with Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal. Here was that interview.
Ryan Poe, it is still in the middle of it for us, isn't it? The virus of 2020, the great pandemic, and we welcome you back.
Hey, yeah, good to be back. Thank you. Yeah, the plague is still going on, so no, not much change there.
I'm wondering how much, though, do you think we have changed? Do you sense in Memphis, like we've gone to the top of the mountain and we're descending, based on maybe even what you see in neighborhoods with masks and distancing or lack thereof, or restaurants opening and people going maybe more or less than you thought? How do you think this story has changed?
So I think that people are starting to, when we first started reopening, when was that? Maybe I think it was May 4th. There was a little bit of uncertainty about how this was all going to go, and so far the numbers have been pretty stable. There was a bit of a bump, I believe, but has kind of capped out, and right now the numbers are holding relatively stable. So, and that's as far as hospitalization, emergency room beds and that kind of thing. So, altogether, if you ask me how it's going, I think it's going very well. We are taking a very cautious approach, but it seems to be paying off to do it that way. I do think there is going to be, some possibility of down the road there might have to be some more restrictions if there's another surge of COVID-19 around the flu season. But as of right now, I think we're heading toward the entry into phase 3 of the local reopening plan.
Ryan, I sure hope so, and I think we've, by and large, government and political leaders and the Vox Populi, the folks, I think we've done a pretty good job. I really didn't believe we would stand down and be this adherent, but I think the message got across of this is something we better not play with. We might be able to look back on it and think, all right, maybe not as big a deal as we thought it was, but let's don't take any chances. I think 100,000 deaths is a pretty darn big deal, but it's certainly not 2.2 million. With that, what is the number every day you first check? Hospitalization rate number, failed or past test number, fatalities. What's the first number, the go-to number every day for Ryan Poe first thing?
Well, that's a good question. I do first check the fatalities. I think that's probably top of mind.
Yeah.
Right, for everyone. We want to know the death toll of this thing. But right after that, I check the hospitalizations and the ICU beds, because really those are key factors for that if our capacity starts getting reached, we could be looking at more deaths because there's just not enough beds and care to go around. I don't think we're going to get to that point based on the numbers, but I think those are the key numbers to check.
I'm like you. Well, I look fatalities first, then I'm going to check total cases. Then I'm going to check recoveries. I think that is so critical to where we
Yep.
are. I like looking at the testing now and to see how many tests and where that positivity rate is, which has been really pretty good. Last week it was, I think one day 2.9%. That might have been the lowest we saw, and that was with a good number of tests. So that was, in my mind anyway, very encouraging. The hospitalization thing, though, is really, and so you've gone right to the heart of the matter, Ryan Poe. It really is why we closed up the economy and we closed up everything that we did. It was so that we wouldn't overrun our hospitals the way that they did in Italy, and then you had to choose, this person's going to live, we're going to give them a ventilator, and unfortunately this person's not going to because we don't have one.
De facto death panels, Dave.
Right, yeah, and they didn't want that. My question is, we are pretty good there. Do you think we'll ever, unless there's a second wave, really use that old commercial appeal building on Union for a hospital? I don't believe it's been used yet, has it?
I don't think they've opened it yet for use, but it's really more of a, it's insurance, really. That's what it comes down to. I do not, based on the numbers now, it doesn't look like we're going to need it. But even so, you have Dr. Fauci and others on a national level talking about how there could be another surge of COVID-19 this fall and winter. Like I mentioned, the UT campus, University of Tennessee, just announced that they are going to be ending classes by Thanksgiving, I think it was, so that they wouldn't, run into issues there or in-person classes. So I think there's definitely a worry that there'll be a surge later.
So they won't do. This is sort of. I know it was the Notre Dame plan, but I think, Brett, you said it was actually, it may have been A&M or somebody even earlier that came up with this concept where you go to school earlier. I don't know if Tennessee is doing that. Notre Dame is going to school August 10th, and they're going all the way through without any break to Thanksgiving. Then they can let everybody go home, and then when they come back after, which will be after the new year.
Well, after maybe even February.
Then they can retest everybody again. And then you'll be in, again, another protective bubble where you're not supposed to leave. If that's what UT's doing, that sounds like a pretty good and safe plan.
Yeah, I think it's a very safe plan as far as it's a cautious plan is what I mean to say. And what we need right now, I think, really is a cautious approach because we've seen how fast that the coronavirus can spread, and the rate of spread when we first had it coming into Memphis was astronomical compared to what it is now, which is about, right now the rate is about one person spreading it to one more person, so it's kind of holding stable. But when we first had it, I think it was in the 4 and 5 person. One person was spreading it to 4 or 5 more people. So we know it can spread very, very fast, and yeah, hopefully we won't see that because of what we're doing now this fall. But, there's still that fear there and that worry, and it's good to be prepared.
It is always good to be prepared, and we've talked a lot on our show and around town. Many others have as well. We're not the only ones. Ryan, I hope this launches a nationwide adherence to a good health plan in every area of life, every walk of life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely think that is going to be part of the conversation going forward. Public health is never going to be the same after this. Just as far as stockpiles and being aware of our capacity for these kind of pandemics, I think there's going to be a lot of change in the future about how we talk about health. And I think just from wearing masks and other kind of basic hygiene, I think that's going to be a huge change just in the way kind of our society norms going forward.
Got a feeling that means buffets probably won't be a thing that you're going to want to take your families to anymore. Anything where there's communal, I think you're going to have to rethink about
dinner parties in homes.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. Everybody wants to be sharing the same poncho dip bowl anymore.
Well, that could be, but I still think you'll have in-home gatherings.
Yeah, family members, but
Yeah, even buddies that you know. But I'm with you. I'm not sure you'll share a cheese dip with a bunch of people
there's a couple
anymore.
of them I didn't trust before
Yeah,
this, Ryan. I don't know if I do now for sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that, yeah, from everything from communion, sharing the communion cup,
Right.
to anything, I think we're going to see a lot more people at least have the option not to. I don't know that all of those kind of community things, I don't know that buffets are going to go away tomorrow, but there will surely be a big change in their business.
Ryan,
for sure.
I've asked this of a couple more news reporters that we've had on. It's almost impossible, but we know at the end of this year when we do stories of the year, heck, maybe stories of the 21st century.
This is it.
This is it. When do you see a day that we're coronavirus free? When it's not leading that front page in those big bold headlines of the old front page in kind of in VE Day style. When do you think we get our old lives back?
That is a very good question. I think it depends on how this fall and winter go. So if everything goes well this fall, I think maybe next year, I think is what I've been told or what I've read as far as when the economy will really start to come back. And I think that is probably a realistic estimate. I think people want to get back to normal. And I think that is why you're seeing so many people right now go out to eat or not, wearing masks even. There's a very strong desire to get back to normal. And I do think that that's going to drive us maybe a little bit faster than we should go. But as a result, I think probably next year is when we'll really start feeling back to normal.
Unless it's a disaster. I promise you
unless it comes back.
That flooding that took place in Michigan, the headline there for them was to get the heck out.
Yeah, that was the lead headline.
It took away.
Head for high ground. That's right, Dave. And everything's local, including the CA's coverage, Ron.
I want to ask you this story because it was in today's CA, and that is about the story of $53 million, half of which will come from the federal government's COVID relief fund, to pay for computers for laptops for students and teachers of Shelby County schools, which to me is smart. It's a great thing. I want everybody to go to class. But if they have to learn this way, at least we have an alternative that keeps everybody safe. My question is, though, there is an expense to internet, right? Do we know that if you're so poor that you can't, and I mean this seriously and hoping that we find the capital to make this work, but there is an expense to the internet. Somebody had said Microsoft is working on a new laptop that has self-contained internet. They called or texted us and said that we haven't been able to find a story on that. But how would they overcome that expense? How are people going to get the internet expense, which is I don't know how much I pay a lump bundle, so I have no idea what I'm paying for the internet alone. But there's got to be a monthly, somewhat significant fee to that.
Yeah, there are very significant fees. I think my personal bill every month is in like, what is it, $80 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is going to be able to afford internet at home, or the hot spots, or whatever else, what other ways they connect. So yeah, I think that's a serious issue. I don't know how Shelby County Schools is overcoming that. It could be that they're relying on people to go to community Wi-Fi spots, public Wi-Fi spots, but even that I think is going to be challenging for a lot of people. So the short answer to your question is that I'm not the education reporter. I'm not sure how exactly they're overcoming it, but I think that's a serious concern. Another concern of mine, just personally, is I am not completely sold on whether it's a good idea for children to be looking at screens for extended periods of time. I think there's a lot of research that shows that can be a very damaging thing. So, how Shelby County Schools is going to be, I know that's the direction they're moving in, but whether it's wise, I'm going to have to do some research before I can
One last thing for Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal at Memphis News on Twitter, at Ryan Poe on Twitter. You wrote today in the 901, you asked this question: will Memphis's COVID-19 shutdown now mean a crime wave later?
Yeah, so this is, let me walk you through kind of my thought on that. So across the country, we are seeing that there's been a lull in crime, of course, because of COVID-19 shutdowns. No one's out, no one's about. So the crime has gone down. Most crime, overall crime has gone down. But what we're also seeing is that the COVID-19 and the shutdowns are going to exacerbate a lot of the poverty and a lot of the underlying factors to why people commit crime. So here's the thing: is that once we start reopening, we're going to see the factors behind crime get worse. And so when it comes back, the worry is that crime is going to come back stronger than ever. In Memphis, so far, it doesn't seem like we are doing much to prepare for that. At least it's not as much as other cities across the country and the world are doing. The London mayor, he just sent a letter to the prime minister saying that he expects there's going to be this wave of new crimes that are going to be coming through, especially from young people who are, more likely to be affected by the loss of employment, that kind of thing, in the long run. So that was kind of the point of the column, was just, are we really preparing for this new wave of crime that's coming? And the answer is that we aren't really. We don't have enough officers right now, not nearly enough, or not nearly as many as were hoped for. So that's kind of where we are.
Not a hopeful way, I guess, to end this conversation, but time says we must, man. And that it could be a topic for another day. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say the hopeful part of this is that we can see it coming down the line, and it's time to act. There are plenty of ways to get involved with young people, especially, and so this would be a good opportunity to just say mentor a child or get involved in other ways. So that's kind of the point of the column was to say it's not too late. We can act now to head this off.
Good stuff.
Great stuff.
Thank you so much. We'll, I'm sure, do this
Thank you, Ryan.
at least another time before we have this pandemic out of phase 3. Wouldn't that be a terrific thing? Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yep. Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Ryan Poe from the Commercial Appeal.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Hey everybody, our friends at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch say congrats to the high school and college class of 2020. And it's a great time to help your grad get a new or pre-owned Chevy. And if you're ready to get that new Suburban, Tahoe, Silverado, Blazer, or even pre-order one of those hot new Corvettes, All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch is where you want to be. Because the people at All-Star Chevy make it fun, easy, and safe, whatever makes you comfortable. They'll even bring any All-Star Chevy car, truck, or SUV to you. And you'll pay a lot less than at those city dealers. GM's financing means no payments for 4 months and 0 interest for 84 months. That's on any new Equinox or Silverado. Thousands in cash back with Blazers, Silverados, and more. And everybody at All-Star Chevy has one job: to make sure you get a better deal, have more fun, and in record time. And all sanitized and safe for you. They'll even pick up and deliver for maintenance and service. Remember, it's not the Pike, not South Haven, not Mount Moriah or Collierville. It's gotta be Olive Branch, people. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet today or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 833-8ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Though we're apart these days, we're sharing more. And Geico would just like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Now it's Geico's turn to share too with a Geico Give Back. A 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. And because Geico's committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The modern take on nicotine has arrived. Say hello to Velo hassle-free nicotine pouches. It's a game changer made for game changers. Whether you're grinding in the boardroom or from your basement, producing a podcast or prepping a photo shoot, writing code or commanding a crowd, whatever your hustle is, Velo's ready. Visit Velo.com now to find your retailer. Website restricted to age 21 plus tobacco consumers. Underage sale prohibited.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. We beat you with the deal, we get in fame.
Final portion of the show brought to you by Homer and Genesis of Olive Branch, Homer Skelton Hyundai, all those Hyundais, all that new technology. Same thing with Genesis. That's taking it a step up, luxury, but still that same performance. My G70, fastest car I've ever had, but so durable. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty and all that new technology. And so safe and so cool. And 0% financing for 84 months. 7 years, you don't pay any interest on your note. And you don't have to make a payment for the first 120 days on select models. Please get on Lamar in Mississippi when you get to State Line Road. Now it's Highway 78, and then the very first exit, Craft Road, minutes away. Turn left and go see Criff True. Go check it out. See what I talk about with transparent pricing and flexible test drive. You will love exactly what you see if you go down and get the best product from the best dealership. Homer, Skelton Hyundai, and Genesis of Olive Branch. It is crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. I was glad to hear the good news about Patrick Ewing. After being very ill, he is now out of the hospital, at home, full recovery from the virus. Second all-time in scoring at Georgetown, first in rebounding. Number one in scoring, rebounding, block shots, and steals all-time with the Knickerbockers. Number 33 retired at both places.
One of the all-time greats, college or NBA. I mean, and a little big, if you get my drift, but obviously healthy enough where he could outdo the COVID-19, and I'm really, really glad for that. This will be his fourth year, if I recall, at Georgetown. This is the story I'm amazed at. 2 months after the XFL first canceled the season because of COVID-19, then went out of business, according to The Athletic's Daniel Kaplan, the XFL's investment bank is currently in active discussions with potential purchasers who want to fund and restart the league for 2021. How many, have you seen this story?
I haven't.
How many people are interested in buying the XFL? How many would you say?
0.
Drew?
I'll say 2.
How about dozens? Active discussions with dozens.
Yeah.
You know what they say, there's a sucker born every day, baby.
Boy, no kidding. Dave, I think we both share in this one. Could have done without the news over the weekend of the passing of Eddie Sutton. He is out of the pain and out of the misery that he's been in for a long time, but he will go into the Hall of Fame. What a guy, what a coach.
Well, you know how we meld mind? Mind meld? That's exactly what mine was, and I really brought it up because I wanted you. A team of mine, A&M, went up against him in
Shelby
before
Metcalf versus Eddie.
Before there was Bud Walton, in that old little gym
at Barnhill.
Yeah, Barnhill Arena.
Yeah, and he refashioned it. It was as big a dead-end job in college sports when he took it in 1974 as anything out there. He built it, and credit to Coach Broyles, back-to-back hires, Eddie Sutton and Nolan Richardson. They got basketball on the map in Arkansas.
Well, and I know you knew him. I did meet him years later. In fact, last time I saw him was in a hotel lobby with Josh Pastner when Memphis played Oklahoma State. He came to visit, and that was really something special to listen to those two guys BS.
Oh, he was a great storyteller and a great basketball mind. Looking forward to keeping an eye on a lot tonight. The potential playoff formats for the NBA. See if baseball makes any stride. Hockey back. 75% of the NHL from foreign countries, the Homeland Security waiver really got things moving for hockey to get back.
Yeah, well, they absolutely needed that, no question about it. We mentioned tomorrow Laird Veach will be on the air with us. We look forward to that. We will thank Ryan Poe, nice young man who does a great job with the commercial appeal. He was on earlier with us. Brent Beard, a lot of news there. David Kopp, and then, of course, Bo Marchand. So this was really an interesting day. I guess the biggest story is the NHL will have playoffs. They're going to go with 24 teams. What will baseball and the NBA do? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great night, everybody.
I'm here with the great Pat